Welcome back to Investigation Chancla. Investigation Chancla is a series where I, Mama Chancla, find some weird, unhinged, chaotic internet rabbit hole. Typically, y'all send it to me, and I gotta figure out what the hell is going on, so some of y'all don't have to. And baby, this one was recommended quite a bit, and this one almost broke me, because I thought I was going into this researching a flower girl. You know, a little flower girl. She's gardening. She's in her little cottagecore era. Maybe she's making a mean sourdough. And there's a little bit of like homesteading drama like sprinkled in there. I don't know. What I was not expecting was GoFundMe fraud, police reports, house fires, psychiatric holds, missing animals, a cake pop asphyxiation incident, a 21-year-old dating a 16-year-old, and enough side quests to make foolishness look organized. And somehow, the deeper I dug in this rabbit hole, the less I understood. Because depending on who you ask, Khalie the flower girl is either one of the most misunderstood young women on the internet or one of the most manipulative. She's a victim.
I'm in the ER, getting x-rays and brain scans done because of injuries done to my head and my hands.
No, she's a scammer.
You can't steal money that was given to you. Technically. Not even technically. Fucking factually.
She's being exploited.
Now I'm doing...
You're doing what you gotta do.
I'm doing what I gotta do. SW.
But she's exploiting people.
I dropped everything I was doing and drove over 1,000 miles, 20+ hour round trip, because I cared about her, she wanted to be with me, I wanted to be with her, and I wanted her to be safe.
Okay, well, she's traumatized. No, she's dangerous.
You stop recording me.
No, this is so I know you don't come inside this house. The host doesn't want you here.
I'm not coming inside.
They don't even want you on this property, and I have to go.
Can I hit that vape?
No.
She's being controlled.
I just got locked out of my own room. And I can't get the keys to the car to sit down.
No, she's the one controlling the situation.
Hey, motherfuckers, and happy holidays. Time to make some Christmas magic in my deteriorating house for my 12-year-old brother, who is only relying on me for Christmas because none of my parents do Christmas.
And after reading thousands of comments, timelines, Reddit threads, live stream transcripts, and consuming enough internet drama to legally qualify for workers' compensation at this point, I realized something. Everybody seems to be arguing about the same question. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's lying? Who's manipulating who? And honestly, after spending weeks living inside this rabbit hole, I don't think that's the interesting question anymore. Because eventually, I had to stop asking who the villain was, and I had to start asking why the same pattern kept repeating itself. Because every few months, somebody new seems to enter this story carrying what looks like a way out. A fresh start, a place to stay, a new relationship, a second chance. And for a little while, it looks like things are finally getting better. And then somehow we're right back where we started, if not worse. There's another crisis, another fundraiser, another emergency, another explanation, and another fresh start. And eventually I found myself staring at my computer at 2 o'clock in the morning, asking a completely different question. What if escaping your circumstances and escaping your patterns are not actually the same thing? Because when the internet first met Khalie, she wasn't controversial. She wasn't internet famous, and she wasn't a scammer or a cautionary tale. She was just a teenager cleaning a house. A very, very dirty house. And thousands of strangers looked at that teenager and saw somebody they wanted to help. They saw somebody they wanted to believe in, somebody they wanted to rescue. And so that's where our story begins. Not with the fundraiser fraud and the police reports and the house fire. It starts with a girl in a broom. Because if we're going to understand how this story became one of the strangest internet rabbit holes I have researched, we first have to understand why people even cared in the first place.
Hey,
let's clean behind the living room couches. So basically, if you don't know me, you don't know this, but we had a roach infestation. We still have rats and mice pretty bad, but no more roaches. So all of the white powder that you're going to see in this video is boric acid, diatomaceous earth, and orthine fire ant killer. Obviously, the mice and rats are nesting in the walls, but I'm not sure how they're getting in there. I just know they're taking everything with them. And then there's a common misconception that I'm the only one who lives here. No, I'm the only minor who lives here who will only be a minor for 2 more days. Actually, only like 1 more day now. Turn 18 on the 24th. I had my final visit with CPS today. She was happier to know that she'd probably never see me again than she was for my birthday. Anyways, I did what I could do about that couch. Now on to my next video.
So what's interesting is that Khalie didn't originally become famous for being a flower girl. She wasn't like tossing petals down wedding aisles, obviously. Back in 2022, Khalie was about 16 years old and was posting what looked like your normal teenager content, lip sync videos, TikTok trends, the same stuff like every teenager on the planet is posting. Nothing about it was screaming future internet rabbit hole. Nothing was giving Mama Chancla's gonna have to spend 3 weeks researching this at 2 a.m. At least not then. But then Khalie started posting cleaning videos. And baby, that is where everything changed. Because people weren't watching somebody just like organize a messy bedroom, and they weren't watching like a cute Sunday fridge reset. No, they were literally watching a teenager wage war against a house that looked like it had been abandoned by civilization. One day she's posting a video cleaning out a pantry and is describing it like something straight out of Resident Evil.
Motherfuckers, let's clean my Resident Evil 7 pantry, but better. Last time I only worked on the floor. Found these pictures of my parents whenever they were younger, and this is what we're working with. So we're starting off by taking absolutely everything off the shelves. Last thing I did with my pantry was steam clean the floor because it was disgusting, and it was barely walk-inable. Okay, I'm keeping this. That shit was so cute. I'm obsessed with flowers. Look what the fuck I found. I don't know what this means, but it's obviously sentimental. Mama, I know you're watching and I'm giving it to you. I'm standing on a step stool and then onto the shelves full of rat shit to reach here, and I tried so hard to get this, and I did. What the fuck is it, by the way? There ain't no way that's a fishbowl. How is that supposed to be stable? Here I'm going through all kinds of childhood arts and crafts.
Another day, she's giving us a tour of the various mold ecosystems thriving throughout her house. Like she's edgy David Attenborough documenting wildlife. One room has leaks. One room has rats. One room has bugs. One room has mystery substances I'm pretty sure science hasn't even identified yet. And every time I thought I had seen the worst room in the house, she'd just go off and post another video. And here's what made the video so different. Khalie wasn't standing there crying and giving up. She wasn't filming a dramatic breakdown or making long speeches about how hard her life was. Instead, Khalie would just walk into a room that looked like a condemned building and be like, hey guys, let's clean.
Motherfuckers, let's clean behind the living room couches. Hey motherfuckers, come with me to attempt to clean underneath my clawfoot tub.
Howdy, partners. Come with me to clean my makeshift vanity, which is...
I'm not sure what sink you're talking about, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do both. We're gonna start off with the kitchen sink. There's a lot of wood rot, and that's why I don't do anything here. I don't really have the motivation to put shit on an uneven floor. Hey motherfuckers, I really don't want to clean my house, but I'm going to because looking at it makes my eyes twitch.
Okay, girl, like clean what? The mold? The room? Because at this point, we're going to need to tear the whole house down and start from scratch. We may even need to move to a different plot of land. But y'all, for real, at one point, she literally looks in the camera in the most self-aware way possible and goes, I know it looks like an abandoned house, but I actually live here.
I know it looks like an abandoned house, but I actually live here. Everybody has actually abandoned this pantry except for the rats and the gnats, and the mice and the flies. But today my mom came over and wanted to help me set up some furniture, so I decided this is where the trash can is gonna go.
And honestly, I think that's the moment people got attached to her. I low-key did, because suddenly this wasn't content. This wasn't a challenge. It wasn't a makeover. This was Khalie's actual life. The rats lived there, the mold lived there, the bugs lived there, but so did Khalie. And despite all of that, she somehow managed to stay kind of funny, which honestly might have been her greatest weapon, and maybe even her most endearing quality. Because if you watch enough of her old videos, you start noticing something. Khalie had a habit of turning everything into a character. So, of course, we need to talk about Bob. Because if we're going to do this deep dive correctly, Bob needs his own segment. Now, Bob was not a person. Bob was not a pet. Bob was an air conditioner. A moldy air conditioner.
Motherfuckers, let's clean my black mold air conditioner. Spoiler alert, it does not get clean. My AC's name is Bob, and he is surrounded by foam, not even to insulate the room, but to keep mice out. and to keep my AC from dripping all over my bed, causing it to mold even more. Because that's why I moved my bed away from my AC in the first place. But since I didn't have any fans and I was really hot, I decided I don't care and that I was moving my bed to my air conditioner. Anyways, I kind of just cursed myself. Since I took off the foam, it's going to be leaking in my room and my bed will become moldy. This is what catches everything. My dad was throwing away our kitchen air conditioner. This is just the black mold I'm surrounded by daily that you expect me to fear. It's called desensitization. Since nobody gave me an AC no matter how much I begged, I did get mine out of the garbage. I was desperate. It was hot. My room is a sunroom. Anyways, Bob and Linda divorced.
Somehow Bob is literally one of my favorite side characters in this entire story. Now I understand that sounds ridiculous, but after watching enough of her videos and after the depravity we get to in this rabbit hole, Bob starts making perfect sense. He's wonderful. Because I suppose when you're spending your days fighting rats and cleaning mold and clearing out rooms that look like they belong in a post-apocalyptic video game, while also trying to make your condemned house livable, apparently you just start making friends with the appliances. Is that an effect of the black mold? Or is it just part of her whimsy in a dark situation? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but I can say this. Bob seemed to be one of the more reliable residents of the house. At least Bob was trying his best. And here's the part that got me. Bob was nasty. Bob had mold, a lot of mold. Bob looked like he had his own immune system. He probably had enough mold to qualify for citizenship. And yet, Khalie talked about Bob with the kind of affection most people reserved for a beloved family pet. And yes, I do low-key really love Bob because Bob represents something that's going to keep showing up in Khalie's early content. It's her ability to find humor and light in situations that were objectively awful. Most people would have looked at Bob, this mold-infested air conditioner, and thought, okay, that's horrifying, get it away from me. Khalie looked at a mold-infested air conditioner and said, well, this is Bob. And somehow the audience immediately understood because underneath all the cleaning videos and all the chaos, there was something weirdly endearing about her. It wasn't just like she's cleaning a house. She was telling stories. She was creating characters. She was finding ways to laugh and cope through things that aren't very funny, especially when that camera's off. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons people became attached to Khalie. Not because the house was disgusting, but because Khalie had a way of turning a house full of mold, rats, broken appliances, and structural damage into a story people wanted to follow. People didn't come back for the mold and the horde. They came back for Khalie. And before long, they weren't just watching anymore. They were rooting for her. They were invested in her. They were worried about her, checking for updates, cheering for every clean room and tiny victory. Because somewhere between Bob, the moldy air conditioner, and the Resident Evil pantry, the internet had adopted a new underdog. And since people kind of parasocially adopted Khalie, people had very reasonable questions and concerns because while everybody else Khalie's age was sitting in algebra pretending they were ever going to use the quadratic formula in real life, Khalie was filming cleaning videos in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. And so it made people start wondering, like, wait, why isn't she in school? And baby, let me tell you something. That question leads us to the first major event that changed the direction of this entire story, because before there was Khalie the flower girl, there was Khalie the expelled student. And depending on who you ask, this expulsion we're going to talk about either derailed Khalie's entire future or revealed cracks that had already been there long before the internet ever showed up. When I first started researching this story, I assumed the answer was probably going to be like boring. Maybe Khalie's homeschooled. Maybe she switched schools. Maybe she was doing online classes, or there's like a paperwork issue. I don't know. I was just like wrong. Every single guess was wrong. But according to Khalie herself, the reason she wasn't in school traces back to an OD on school property. And the first time I heard her explain it, I physically had to pause the video because that is not where I thought the story was going, girl. But anyway, according to Khalie, another student overdosed at school. The girl survived, but she was in critical condition in the hospital. And immediately, the school launched an investigation. The police got involved, Child Protective Services became involved, and according to Khalie, everybody was trying to figure out where the medication came from. And somehow, she found herself right in the middle of it. Now, according to Khalie's version of events, she had absolutely nothing to do with the overdose. She describes herself as the kid people would go to if they needed medication. And before anyone panics, she claims that she is not talking about prescription drugs. According to Khalie, she likes to carry things like Tylenol, Dramamine, motion sickness medication, ibuprofen, over-the-counter stuff, lightweights, maybe a Benadryl or two. And she was basically the good friend that had an Advil in her backpack if you were cramping.
How I got expelled from high school. One of my ex-friends ODs on campus. And I was sort of just that girl that you could go to if you wanted medication. By medication, I mean ibuprofen, Tylenol, motion sickness meds, Dramamine.
But according to her, after the overdose happened, students began telling authorities they had seen her give medication to the girl. Khalie says that wasn't true.
Well, a bunch of people at school wanted to feel like they were helping after she OD'd, coming forward to the school police officer, letting them know that they witnessed me give her the medication.
She says she didn't even like the girl, and she says she wouldn't have never gave her anything.
I did not like her, and I would have never given her medication.
But by that point, the investigation was already underway. And honestly, listening to her tell the story sounds absolutely terrifying because according to Khalie's version, she was interrogated, read her rights, questioned by authorities, and told that if the girl that overdosed died, she could potentially be charged as an adult.
Anyway, she was unconscious for the OD. I was in a potential investigation. I was interrogated and read my rights. I was told I would be charged as an adult if she were to die for something I did not do.
So imagine being 15 years old and hearing something like that. Imagine being a teenager and suddenly finding yourself in the middle of a police investigation involving a classmate that is fighting for her life. Whether Khalie was responsible or not, that is an enormous thing for a kid to process. According to Khalie, investigators were searching her belongings and they ended up finding the over-the-counter medications, Tylenol, motion sickness medication, and these items violated school policy. So according to her, even after the girl woke up and allegedly told investigators that Khalie wasn't responsible, she was still expelled because the school maintained a zero tolerance policy regarding medication on campus.
Essentially, DEA got involved, Child Protective Services got involved, everybody at the school was involved, and they were waiting for her to wake up for her to tell them I did it. After the interrogation, I was told that I was suspended indefinitely, and they told me that there is a zero tolerance policy for medication on campus since they couldn't get me for, of course, of someone who was still alive. This was scary for me because she was in critical condition at the time. She woke up and told them I didn't give her anything. She said where she got the medication, and I was expelled.
And according to Khalie, the consequences didn't stop there. She claims she wasn't just removed from one school. She says she became barred from attending schools throughout the county.
Months later, the same school police officer tells the judge about her overdose story, to where they put me on probation and gave me community service. But I never did the community service because I was in the hospital the whole time. It's been 2 years and I haven't been back to school.
Ready with me to go to my little sister's graduation. I'm actually not allowed on any school property in my county because I had motion sickness pills whenever I was 15. So I am expelled from every school in the county.
Now, if that's the only version of the story you hear, sounds like a nightmare, right? A teenager gets caught in the middle of a medical emergency she insists she had nothing to do with, gets investigated, gets expelled, and suddenly her entire future changes. And honestly, if that was the only version of the story that existed, I probably wouldn't even be talking about this right now. But this is Investigation Chancla, Bookie. Nothing in this story comes with one version. Have we not learned? Nothing in this story comes with one timeline, and nothing in the story is going to come with one reality over here, baby. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you Khalie's version from her mouth, right?
Story time about it. This girl's still alive, and she's still... Why would I would never... Benadryl. That girl took 51 Benadryls. What? Yeah, it had nothing to do with that, and I don't know what you're talking about because she lived. And whenever she woke up in the hospital bed, she told the DEA, hey, I got these from my grandparents' nightstand or something. And the DEA just warned me about bullying. And it was just because nobody liked me at school. So they started that rumor. And then whenever they searched me, the day after her OD, they searched me while she was in critical condition. And they found that I had, not sleep aid, it was motion sickness meds and Tylenol. And then they expelled me from school.
And then I want to give you the version people from school tell. I'm going to give you the version that the internet eventually built from screenshots, old posts, message boards, and the people who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. Hold on. Editing Mama Chancla, I need to intervene because I was not spiritually prepared for what I just had to listen to. Y'all, originally I was going to show y'all just like Reddit screenshots, former classmates saying one thing, the internet saying another. Everyone's arguing about whether the expulsion story was missing pieces. And then I found out there's a whole diss track about the girl that overdosed on the Benadryl. Her name's Maggie. This was written by Khalie. I'm gonna read it because I know some of y'all are unk like me, and I had to listen to it a couple times to understand what she was saying.
Poor Maggie. When she popped her penny, she was sure a human time bomb. If she wasn't a dumbass, then I wouldn't be homeschooled. If she's still in public school, you should ask her what she's on. You can call me muscle man, the way I talk about my mom. Sorry, Maggie, no, I'm not. Favorite sociopathic, pathological liar. I'm your favorite psychopath, won't live long enough to retire. Maybe I'm just a kleptomanic, neat freak, and a minor. Maybe I'm a bitch, but I don't care. Fuck being nicer. You're not a liker. You're lost, bitch, I'm tired. Fuck you when your mom and your dad, and I popped your tires. I still love you. Oh, well, that's cute. I never liked her. Bitches never know what to do when I say Tyler. Oh my god, she loves the bombs too. They have a timer. But she won't when her house is on fire. Every time I answer her room, I had an escape plan.
Poor Maggie. When she popped the bennies, the Benadryl, she was sure a human time bomb. If she wasn't a dumbass, then I wouldn't be homeschooled. If she's in public school, you should ask what she's on. You should call me muscle man the way I talk of my mom. I'm sorry, Maggie. No, I'm not. I'm your favorite sociopath, a pathological liar. Maybe I'll be a psychopath till I'm old enough to retire. Maybe I'm a kleptomaniac, neat freak, and a minor. Maybe I'm a bitch, but I don't care. Fuck being nicer. Hearing I don't like her, you're lost, bitch. I'm tired. Fuck you, your mom, your dad, and I also popped your tires. I still love you. Oh, well, that's cute. I never liked her. Bitches never know what to do when I say Tyler. I think Tyler might be the boyfriend that the girl was sad about. Rolled your house. You like the bombs too? They have a timer. Bitches better know what to do, but she won't when her house is on fire. And mama tired. Are you? And by the end of this, you're going to have to decide for yourself whether this was a teenager who got caught in the blast radius of somebody else's tragedy, or whether this was just the first time other people started noticing patterns the internet wouldn't discover until years later. Because once I made the mistake of opening Reddit, baby, I felt like I walked into a family reunion where everybody was yelling and nobody remembered how the argument started. Suddenly, I was not reading one version of events anymore. I was reading 50. One person says Khalie was unfairly blamed. Another person says there's more to the story. One person says she's framed. Another person says people already had concerns before this happened. One person says this incident ruined her life. Another person says the incident revealed problems that were already there. And I'm kind of leaning towards that way because the deeper I dug, the messier it became. And eventually I started finding posts from people who claimed they actually went to school with her, people who claimed they knew her, people who claimed they remembered the situation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read these because I know there's a lot of people that just like listen. So this is about the controversy, and this is somebody that actually went to school with Khalie or claims to. And they go, okay, so basically me and her have went to school together since she transferred to my town in 5th grade. The girl who overdosed was in my first class, and she had told us she had been upset over a breakup and she had gotten something from Khalie. Me and my friend kept asking her what it was, and she finally said it was Benadryl. We didn't think anything too crazy of it because it's a Benadryl, you know? But I got to 2nd period and they locked the school down for an ambulance to come in. That's their protocol. And they said there was an overdose. Finally, when they let us out around the middle of 3rd period, and it made sense what she meant by taking the Benadryl from earlier. Skip to 7th period, Khalie is talking about the whole situation, and she says that the girl who OD'd came up to her and said she needed her Benadryl. Khalie asked her why, and she said, name, which I do think is Tyler. Tyler just broke up with me. And Khalie gave her the pills willingly. My question is, why would you give somebody with intent a tool to harm themselves with? She gave her the whole bottle at that. The prescribed medicine was Benadryl, by the way. And then the second part is from a Redditor that reached out to the same girl, and they go, I want to ask you a question, but I didn't want to leave it in the comments because I'm not sure if others know about this. Khalie's mom said Khalie made a hate page about the girl that OD'd. Is that true? And she goes, yes, Khalie made several hate pages and she titled them with the person's name. The only reason I know that is because she put me in one a couple of years ago. And then the Redditor goes on to ask, like, she made one of you or she added you in it? And the girl that went to her school goes, she added me into one, and it was for another girl at our school. There was probably 8 different pages. The Redditor continues on, why did she make them? Just to talk about the person. She made them on Snap, and she would call the group chat at night and talk about the person for a while. The Redditor goes on again. Her mom paints her as a liar and really manipulative. What was your experience with her? I've caught her in so many lies online. It's absolutely crazy. I didn't know if she was like that before Preston. If y'all don't know who Preston is, we'll get to it. Trust, we will. And her schoolmate says she is. I will say Khalie has a lot of potential to be a, and then it's cut off, but she is. I'm going to let y'all come to your own conclusions, but I gotta keep it real. Obviously, I can't independently verify every anonymous internet comment. Neither can Reddit, despite Reddit's confidence level frequently suggesting otherwise. But what stood out to me wasn't necessarily what people were saying. It was how many people were saying it. Because over and over and over again, I kept running into claims that the story wasn't nearly as straightforward as Khalie's version made it sound. Some people claimed and stand 10 toes down on the concept that she already had a reputation way before TikTok. There were concerns long before anybody knew who Khalie the Flower Girl was. But before long, I'm not looking at one story anymore. I'm looking at Khalie's and everybody else's version. And the frustrating part is, years later, people are still arguing about it. Everybody's got a different explanation for what happened here. I'm just putting it out there, okay? That was the first moment, though, during this investigation where I started noticing something that's going to continue and show up over and over again. A lot of major events in Khalie's life comes with multiple versions, sometimes 2, sometimes 5, sometimes 15. And everyone seems absolutely convinced that they're the only person remembering it correctly. And the pattern starts here. And once you see it, you're going to start seeing it everywhere, because regardless of where you land on this story, this moment did change everything, because after this, school disappears from Khalie's timeline. And once school disappears, the spotlight moves somewhere else entirely, moves home. The family, the fractures that existed long before TikTok ever arrived. And baby, the rabbit hole somehow manages to get even deeper. By this point in the investigation, I had learned something very important. Nothing in this story is going to come with one version. Every event comes with competing timelines, competing explanations, competing memories, competing realities. And nowhere was that more obvious than when I started digging into Khalie's family. Because houses don't just wake up one morning and decide to become biohazards. hazards. Air conditioners don't suddenly develop personalities and enough mold to qualify for voting rights. Something has happened before the mold and Bob and the rats and the leaks, before TikTok and before any of us knew who Khalie was. And according to almost everyone involved, that something was the divorce, babes. According to Khalie's version of events, her parents split up. Her father struggled heavily with his mental health and speculated alcoholism, and the house deteriorated alongside him. Repairs stopped happening. Problems started stacking on top of other problems. One broken thing became 3 broken things. 3 broken things became 10 broken things. One leak became extensive water damage. Water damage becomes mold. Mold eventually became Bob. And eventually, what had once been a family home slowly transformed into the environment millions of people would later discover online. And that's not overnight, not all at once, slowly. So this is from Khalie's account. The divorce between my parents really took a toll on my father's mental health. It was never drugs. My father is against drugs. He stopped letting me hang out with one of my friends when they turned to drugs. Please don't make harmful assumptions. This is nothing but a mental illness. I am trying to fix the house to my best ability, but with all the isolation I've endured and my limited education, plus my own mental illness, it has been incredibly difficult to find the motivation. I never expected it to fall on me, but I finally accepted it. Had 2 years ago. I feel guilty for not trying to prevent it more, but I have to remind myself I was only 11 when it got bad. I'm trying to prevent it being worse for the little ones now. They don't live here. They only visit. I am 17. I must leave at 18 for my own sake and sanity, and I'm sorry, I'm not spending donation money to fix my home. I have to use it to get out, or else I would never will with the job my pay has. Thank you for reading. I am sorry I didn't do more to prevent this. Hashtag FYP, hashtag explore, hashtag real, hashtag reels, hashtag childhood, hashtag nostalgia, hashtag viral, hashtag for you. Because that's usually how these things happen. One room stops getting cleaned. One appliance breaks. One repair gets put off until next month. One problem becomes normal. Then another, until one day you wake up and realize you've adapted to conditions that would have horrified you a few years earlier. And honestly, that might have been one of the saddest parts of those early videos. It wasn't the mold or the rats or the leaks. What's sad was how normal all of it seemed to her, because normal doesn't mean healthy. Normal just means familiar. But then I started looking at the other side of the family story, and baby, that's when Investigation Chancla became Investigation Why Everybody Living in a Different Universe. Because according to family members who have spoken publicly over the years, the story wasn't simply Papa got depressed and the house fell apart. No. The implication from the other side was that there had been years of instability, years of conflict, behavioral issues, mental health struggles, custody disputes, arguments, family fractures, problems that existed long before anyone on TikTok ever met Khalie, the flower girl. Suddenly, I wasn't looking at one explanation anymore. I had Khalie's explanation, her father's explanation, her mother's explanation, the internet's explanation, and somehow all of them sounded like they were describing completely different families. The only thing everybody seemed to agree on was that by the time millions of strangers discovered that house, things had already been bad for a very, very long time. Now, one of the biggest questions people kept asking throughout this entire saga was, if things are so bad, why doesn't she stay with her mother? And honestly, that sounds like a reasonable question until you realize the answer changes depending entirely on who you ask. Because according to Khalie, her relationship with her mother had been difficult for years. Part of that centered around allegations Khalie has publicly made in music form involving her former stepfather. Allegations that she's maintained and allegations her mother has publicly disputed. If y'all didn't hear it or couldn't decipher, she goes, why'd you have to touch me? I don't trust you. Something. Why did she hush me? Why do you have to touch me? Like, I'm not one to make assumptions or speculate. Everything's alleged, but I mean, common sense is going to allude that obviously someone touched her and someone hushed her. And it seems like a lot of her music, from what I can tell, is very factual about true things. It's almost like a diary. But I'm going to read off this conversation for the ones that are listening between an old friend of Khalie and her own mother, literally in the comment section. Natalie was her best friend in high school, and Lima Bean is her mother, but Natalie doesn't know it's her mother yet. So Natalie starts. She was my best friend in junior high and high school, like best freaking friend. I don't know what happened. I wish she would get help. She's really not a bad person. She's just been through a lot at a young age. And then Natalie continues, and has mental trauma, which results in cries for help. Khalie has always had problems, but as people, I think we should try to help. Not financially, because come on, we know she's manic, but with love. And this is just a random commenter. Considering her financial situation, it's probable she can't afford adequate help for her mental health. And Natalie replies, no, sadly she cannot. But then again, she has the opportunity. But an unmedicated bipolar cannot have control too much money without splitting out and spending it impulsively. She needs somebody, but in person, in charge. She needs adequate parenting, which she never received. Now, here comes Lima Bean, quick as hell after that. And she replies and goes, Natalie, that's BS. You don't know her home life other than what she told you. And you believed it. Like I said, you knew her at school or at your house, but you don't know her family life. And at this point, Natalie doesn't know this is her mother. And so she goes, I'm glad you think you know her though. And Lima Bean goes, I'm her mom. I think I know her better than you. I was around way before high school. And then Natalie goes, and I love this part because it's low key shade. Good on Natalie. Didn't realize you were Miranda. Your profile picture doesn't look like you. I'm sorry for the attitude. I didn't realize who you were. I know some of the things she's told. And then she keeps going. According to Khalie, she moved in with her dad young, and a lot of accidents happened during her living there. And trauma at a young age. I would not speak what had not been told for any reason other than her protection, especially on the internet. I hate all of the backlash she's receiving. And Lima and her mom goes, exactly, it's what she said. It doesn't mean you know her. And Natalie goes, I may not know her on her level, but nobody truly knows better than her. I've known her for 10 years, though. You can know enough about someone from paying attention. I'm not sure why you're attacking me for my comment on trying to help her, which is what I've been trying to do. Since day one, Khalie isn't a bad person, and that's the point I'm trying to get across. And then the mom goes, I understand. I've been dealing with the lies since she was very little, and they were always dangerous. I'm not attacking you. I don't know, it seems like it, but this is all very hard on all of us. And she's been running from self-accountability for a very long time. And the mom goes on. Or no, and then a rando just pops up in the comments, and I love them, Scaramucci, whoever this is. How do we know you weren't part of the problem and why she is the way that she is? And then the mom just goes. The mom just disappeared. She ain't got nothing else. And I'm going to keep it real with y'all. This is around the part of the story where Mama Chancla had to stop taking notes, and I just started like dissociating out of pure frustration, because regardless of what anybody thinks of Khalie now, the lies people accuse her of, the manipulation people accuse her of, the internet drama, the scamming, the potential rug abuse, the decision she's made, I can tell you this: if a child came to me and told me that somebody hurt them, I'm listening, I'm believing, I'm advocating, I don't care, period. Children deserve to be taken seriously, and that is so personal for me, and maybe that's because trauma doesn't always create neat victims. Trauma doesn't create a Drew Barrymore Hallmark movie protagonist. Sometimes trauma creates really messy people. Complicated people. Actually, most times it does. Self-destructive people who push help away and make bad decisions. It creates people who hurt other people. Bad behavior doesn't automatically mean nothing happened to them. Those two things can't exist in the same person at the same time. And honestly, that's one of the things that bothers me the most in this investigation. I mean, the scamming is and the lying and the mold is annoying and frustrating, but it's really the feeling that somewhere along the way in this timeline, parents, adults left the chat. Because whether you believe Khalie or not, the parents, the adults, were supposed to be parents and adults. And the parents and adults are supposed to protect children. The parents, the adults, are supposed to notice when the house is falling apart and do something about it. The parents, the adults, they need to intervene when their teenager gets expelled from school. The adults need to figure out what's happening before strangers on the internet have to ask and parasocially adopt people like Khalie. So Instead of action, what I found was a family that appeared to be arguing while the house itself quietly rotted around everybody living inside it. Meanwhile, people online just started noticing something else. Her younger siblings appeared to have places to stay. Some family members appeared to have housing, jobs, cars, stability. And so naturally people are asking, why is Khalie the only one without somewhere to go? And the narrative changes. One narrative is her family totally abandoned her. Another narrative is her family tried to help and she refused it. Another narrative is that she was failed by every adult around her. And another narrative basically says people kept reaching out and she kept pushing them away. And honestly, those explanations aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Families fail people. Traumatized people make self-destructive choices. Help gets offered, help gets rejected. Sometimes all of those things happen at the exact same time. Trauma is really messy like that. Families are really messy like that. If you know, you know. And I have to be honest though, because internet audiences really hate messy. The internet wants heroes, villains, monsters, victims, period. Neat endings, tied up with a bow. And I hate to burst your big, beautiful bubble, but this story refuses to give you one. Because by the time the internet met Khalie, the fracture had already happened. The house was just where everybody could finally see it. And maybe the strangest part of all of this is that while all of this was happening behind the scenes, something else was happening online. People weren't just watching anymore. They were rooting hardcore for our underdog. Wish lists were appearing. Strangers were offering resources. It almost felt like Khalie was adopted parasocially, not as an influencer or a creator, but as a new project. Whether you believe the internet became a lifeline, an enabler, a support system, a pressure cooker, or all of those things at the exact same time, you're just gonna have to kind of decide that for yourself. I can say this though. By the time strangers arrived carrying rescue plans, the fracture was already there. The home, the mold, the filth, the squalor, which is the first time everybody got to see it. All right, y'all. So we got to talk about Preston. And this is the first part of the investigation where I literally wanted to rip my hair out and launch my computer directly into the Ohio River. Because up until this point, this story is tragic. Then Preston shows up and suddenly it becomes infuriating. According to public timelines and statements, Khalie was around 16 years old when Preston entered her life. Preston was 21, not 19, not freshly 18, 21 years old. Old enough to legally drink in a few states, old enough to have graduated college, old enough to rent a car, old enough to understand exactly how different 21 is from 16. Meanwhile, Khalie was a teenager living in poverty, a teenager living in a house that strangers online described as completely unsafe. Khalie was a teenager posting videos about mold, rats, leaks, broken appliances. She was a teenager dealing with family instability. A teenager who had already spoken publicly about her mental health struggles. A teenager who had become internet famous as well because people were horrified by the condition she was living in. That is the context. That is the person he entered a relationship with. Not an independent grown adult with a support system. Not somebody surrounded by stability. A vulnerable teenager in crisis. That's what makes people uncomfortable about this story. And that's what gives me major ick. They call him pea stain. And it's not just the age gap itself. It's the circumstances surrounding it too. But also, hello? 21 years old and you meet a vulnerable 16-year-old living in poverty and chaos? There are 100 appropriate roles that you could play in this situation. You can be supportive from a distance. You can be a mentor from a distance. You can encourage them to reconnect with safe adults from a distance. You can help them find resources from a distance. You can point them towards housing assistance from a distance. You can help them apply for jobs from a distance. What you do not do is become the boyfriend. Hello? That is where a lot of people following this story had to draw a very hard line. Then more information started coming out because according to public allegations shared online, other women began coming forward claiming that they had had inappropriate experiences with Preston P. Stain when they were minors or significantly younger than him. Some alleged grooming behavior, some alleged manipulation, some alleged sexual conversations while they were underage. One public account described contact beginning when she was 14 and he was 18. And eventually it was escalating from normal conversations to requests for increasingly sexual content. Those allegations have never been proven in court. They remain allegations, okay? Don't sue me. But they became part of the public conversation surrounding him. Before we continue, trigger warning for pretty much the entire rest of this segment, but the whole video is a trigger warning. We're talking allegations involving grooming, coercion, exploitation of young people. What I'm about to read was posted publicly on Reddit by someone who alleges they were involved with Preston several years ago. I cannot verify these claims independently, so treat this as an allegation from an individual sharing their story online. Please don't sue me. I'm reading it because whether every detail can be proven or not, the patterns described here are very similar to concerns that have been raised elsewhere in this rabbit hole and in my soul. So with that disclaimer out of the way, here's what they wrote. I feel sick reliving this every time I see anything about what's happening to Khalie. So here's my story. In 2021, one of my friends from high school sent me his Snapchat. I added it and we started talking. I knew at the time that it was weird being 14 and talking / making friends with an 18-year-old. This was before his birthday, but I pushed that to the side since he didn't seem like a threat. And also you were a child. But anyway, we began texting frequently and it started off with him messaging me about music, sending me stuff he's made. Then it transitioned into him talking about his interests, asking me mine, and then it moved on to him asking me frequently for pictures of my face without filters. He knew I was insecure. Then it turned into him asking for pictures of my feet, and eventually into him pressuring me into sending my foot type pictures and videos, which I told myself I wouldn't take that to the grave with me because I was so embarrassed and mortified with myself for sending him the videos and pictures I did. After he got tired of the feet and those videos, he started pressuring me into sending, y'all know, photos of myself. Of course, at first I said no, but he would love bomb me, manipulate me, anything he could to get me to let my guard down. Yeah, it's easy when you're a child. And so I gave in. Eventually I just did that. I gave in and I sent them pictures of myself, even though I knew it was wrong, both morally and legally. Honey, you was a child. Go easy on yourself. After I sent those pictures, I went to school and I heard girls talking about things only those who saw the pictures of me would know. I went to my resource officer crying, asking him what to do because I was afraid these pictures somehow got spread around the school. And instead of the resource officer trying to help me and guide me in the right direction, he told me that I would be facing jail time because what I did was illegal. I'm mad. I went home that day and my mom had already been called by the resource officer. She knew everything. She was very upset with me, but wanted to press charges on him. Good on the mom. That was until I told her what the resource officer had told me about potentially facing legal consequences. After she found that out, she dropped all charges against him. You gotta be kidding me. This is only a portion of what happened to me, but this is a super long post and I highly doubt anyone will read all of this. Baby, I'm reading. We're reading. I just feel heavy amounts of guilt knowing that I could have put him behind bars and I didn't. Don't, because you were a child. You're a victim. You were a child. I live with this in the back of my brain every day, and seeing what Khalie is going through makes me feel so sick, and same for her. I hope that if she sees this, that she knows that she can get away from him. She can do it. I believe in her. I just don't want her to end up dead. Ooh, okay. To the girl that wrote this, if you ever watch this, please, please, please give yourself some grace. You were a literal child, and that resource officer, he needs to get fired. Like, that is crazy. Oh my gosh. I also need to throw in this little song because I don't think I mentioned it, but like I said, Khalie makes music and it's like about her life. Like, that's her way of like journaling almost. And so she made this song and I'm going to play it for y'all. And I'm not going to translate the lyrics for you. Y'all just listen. Use your listening ears. Turn them on, okay?
A 22-year-old with a foot fetish, and I'm a 17-year-old who went really manic. I bought a shit ton of clothes from Ross just for less. I made him drop all his toes. I was the youngest yet.
Then came this phone call with Preston's own biological brother. And honestly, this is one of the moments in this entire investigation that stuck with me the most because this wasn't Reddit hearsay. This wasn't internet drama. This wasn't strangers speculating. According to publicly shared recordings, Preston's own brother confronted him directly. He asked, "Hey, bro, why are you talking to a 17-year-old girl?" He asked them if he understood this could be a felony. Like, are we aware of what the consequences are? He asked them questions about money. He asked him whether he had slept with her. At one point, he directly accused him of grooming a vulnerable girl in a bad situation. Hello? His words were essentially, why do you keep involving yourself in this? And again, this isn't coming from the internet. This is coming from inside Peace Stain's own family.
Okay, what do you need to know?
Okay, so you lied to me about blocking her, right? Just a couple months ago. How
Yeah.
you lied to me, right?
I mean, probably we both did. It's not just me.
What? I just don't understand, like, why you feel the need to have to talk to a 17-year-old girl, Preston. What have you done with this girl? Have you had sex with this girl?
No.
Is that a lie?
I'm not going to explain any information that does not need to be said, over the phone call, because it is my life, and,
Preston, you realize that's illegal. That's a felony, right? You realize there's people trying to get police involved on Reddit and all this stuff?
I know you know what's going on. It's been going on for months.
Why do you keep involving yourself in this, Preston? It's not okay. You're grooming this girl that is in a poor situation. Why do you think this is okay? I'm coming to you brother as brother, because this is fucked up, Preston. It's extremely fucked up. And I tried to save you from it. I'm trying to, you're a grown adult man, right? But I'm trying to lead you on the right path. You don't need to be going down this path, dude. I'm trying to help you.
Right. I understand.
And why did you lie to me? Why didn't you listen to me?
Then came another leaked conversation, and in that conversation, Khalie and Preston allegedly discussed intimate material created while she was still underage. That material created when she was 17 needed to be deleted because she had been a minor at the time. The discussion reportedly included concerns about what would happen if police ever searched his devices. Again, no criminal charges resulted from that recording. No court has ruled on those allegations. But Peace Stain, disappear into the ocean.
What the minor says does not matter.
Okay, but listen, if the police were ever involved, I'm saying silent. I don't know. I can tell them really whatever, but there's no proof in this.
Except there's a little bit. Except there is a little bit.
And you think nobody gives a fuck?
Sure, nobody gives a fuck, but there are some things that you would probably want to delete if they did get, a search warrant for your phone. Sorry, the dog in the room. I think he's itchy. Amos, go back. Shut up. Anyway. Yeah, if they had a search warrant for your phone, you'd want to, delete some stuff. Because that would be considered CP because it's minor.
Yeah, so.
I really hope so. The Snapchat ain't so protective.
Well, there's no fucking. Nobody's gonna do shit about that.
Yeah, but Preston, after I turn 18, that needs to be gone anyway.
What needs to be gone?
Some videos that you and I took that you might want to delete, that you took of me that you might want to delete, because I was 17 in those recordings, meaning that can be considered CP, and you don't want to get charged with that. You really don't.
Listen, nobody's gonna be doing shit about that.
Okay, but you might want to just to be safe, Preston, you don't know how far people can take it. And if you were to just completely get uninvolved with me, that doesn't even matter at that point. And that's still stuff that needs to be off of your phone.
It doesn't even matter if you lose it. They can still pull it back.
Well, you would really hate to have that on your record, Preston, and that would suck to have on your record, and it would suck to get jobs if that's on your record. So it's best if you start.
I was gonna go have jobs outside the police station.
Would you gonna turn yourself in and be like, hey, fuck the minor? Like, what you gonna do?
For many people following this story, hearing that conversation turned concern into outrage, because at that point, people were no longer asking, is this relationship unhealthy? People were asking, how much influence does this man have over every aspect of this girl's life? His name kept appearing everywhere from that point. Eventually, it stopped feeling like he was part of the story, and it started feeling like he had embedded himself into every system, keeping this story running. You do not have to agree with me. You do not have to agree with Reddit. You do not have to agree with the people making allegations. But my own reaction to this part of the timeline is simple. When I look at a vulnerable 16-year-old dealing with poverty, instability, mental illness, family fractures, and public scrutiny, I see someone who needs protection. I see someone who needs safe adults. I see someone who needs support. I don't see a dating opportunity, and I suspect that is why so many people following this story reacted the way that they did, because whatever else people disagreed about, that was the part many of them simply could not get past. So at some point between Bob, the moldy air conditioner, and the pantry that looked like it was auditioning for a zombie apocalypse movie, something was happening in the internet sphere. The internet fell in love with Khalie. And I understand why, because those early videos weren't compelling because they were disgusting. The internet has seen disgusting before. We see it every day. We've seen hoarding houses. We watch hoarders. We've seen mold. The internet has seen all types of neglect. But what a lot of people had not seen was a teenager walking directly into that environment with a trash bag and a bottle of Fabuloso saying, okay, let's start here. That was the difference. The videos weren't about the filth. The videos were about the effort. Khalie wasn't making excuses. She wasn't screaming at the camera. She wasn't crying. She wasn't telling everyone whose fault it was. She was mostly just cleaning. One room, one shelf, one counter, one bag of trash at a time. And the people responded to that because human beings are hardwired to root for the underdogs, especially underdogs that are still trying. So the comments from that era feel completely different than the comments that came later. People were proud of Khalie. People told her, keep going. They told her they believed in her, and they told her that she deserved better than the situation she had been born into. And eventually, encouragement turned into action. People started asking what she needed. Then people started sending it. Wish lists appeared, cleaning products disappeared from those wish lists almost immediately. Trash bags, storage containers, organization bins, shelving, pet supplies, household items, furniture, food, gift cards. People weren't buying luxuries, at least not at first. They were trying to build stability, one Amazon package at a time, and the packages kept coming. Followers who had never met this young girl started contributing to her household. People mailed supplies to a teenager living hundreds of thousands of miles away because they seriously believed that they were helping somebody build a bridge out of a bad situation. And honestly, in my opinion, they were. Well, at least for a while, because this wasn't influencer culture yet. This wasn't luxury hauls. This wasn't creators asking followers to fund designer vacations and handbags. This felt different. This felt closer to community crowdfunding. It was giving neighbors showing up after a funeral with casseroles. It's giving church donation drives, people taking care of someone they believed had fallen through the cracks. The audience wasn't watching a creator, they were watching a kid that they wanted to see win so badly. A lot of people saw themselves in Khalie. People who grew up around addiction, people who grew up around neglect, people who learned how to clean and be the adult in the family before they learned how to drive. People who spent their childhood managing adult problems, and people who understood what it feels like to become responsible for situations you didn't create, recognized something familiar in Khalie's journey and her story. And once that happened, support stopped being transactional. It became emotional. People weren't sending storage bins. They were sending encouragement. They weren't buying trash bags. They were buying possibility. They weren't funding content. They were funding hope. For the first time in a long time, people genuinely believed they were watching the beginning of a beautiful escape story. The mold house was going to be temporary. The chaos is temporary. The poverty was temporary, at least in their minds. The internet was going to help get this girl out. At least that was the plan. Unfortunately, this is also the moment where the story starts becoming much bigger than cleaning videos and Amazon packages. Because once strangers become emotionally invested in your survival and success, something changes. People stop feeling like viewers and they start feeling very protective. They feel responsible. They're personally invested in the outcome. And that emotional investment would eventually collide headfirst with money. A lot of money. And when that happened, everything changed. So we gotta follow the money. And this is the point where the internet collectively develops an accounting degree, because until now, helping Khalie felt simple. People saw a teenager living in conditions they considered unsafe and unhealthy, and people wanted to help, so they helped. Then the numbers started getting bigger, and once numbers get big enough, people start asking questions. The first major fundraiser was relatively small though, roughly $800. The stated goal was straightforward. Help Khalie prepare to leave home once she became an adult. Help with independence, help getting started. $800 is not life-changing money, but for a teenager with no financial safety net, $800 can feel enormous. Then came the transportation fundraiser. This one changed everything. Public records and archived fundraising pages indicate that this fundraiser raised more than $10,000. The purpose was transportation, not luxury transportation, just a vehicle, insurance, maintenance, registration, gas. Because for a lot of us, y'all know, if you grow up in rural areas or in poverty, a vehicle is not a convenience. A vehicle is employment. A vehicle is housing opportunities. A vehicle is freedom. Followers believed they were helping buy freedom for Khalie. Then came additional fundraising efforts centered around housing, moving expenses, and independence. Public timelines and community records placed the combined total raised across fundraisers at approximately $21,000 or more. The exact number varies slightly depending on which archived records are used and whether certain donations are included in calculations. That figure, though, does not include Amazon wishlist purchases, cleaning supplies, storage containers, pet supplies, furniture, food, gift cards, household items, or direct support sent outside official fundraising pages. So nobody knows the exact value of these contributions, but by most estimates, community support extended far beyond the public fundraiser totals. Then came the first major concern, because according to Khalie's later public statements, she believed she could not create her own bank account and therefore allowed fundraiser proceeds to be linked directly to Preston's account instead. Yes. P. Stain Preston. And according to Khalie, donations went directly into accounts controlled by P. Stain. And at this point, Khalie was still a minor. Preston was an adult. Okay, that distinction became incredibly important to supporters and me, because from their perspective, they were not sending money to Preston P. Stain Jr. They're trying to send money to Khalie. Then came the vehicle. Public timelines and discussions surrounding the fundraiser later alleged that the vehicle purchase with fundraiser money was titled solely in P. Stain Preston's name rather than Khalie's. And okay, I'm going to be devil's advocate. Legally, that might have been for insurance purposes or financing purposes, but emotionally, I hate it. The donors hated it because we had believed that it had been for Khalie's independence. Instead, the legal ownership reportedly belonged to somebody else, and that somebody else was P. Stain Preston. Are you kidding? And then came a disappearance. Khalie and Preston largely disappeared from public view for several weeks. Followers noticed, family reportedly noticed. At one point, according to public discussion surrounding the situation, Khalie was reportedly considered a runaway by family members who did not know where she was. Eventually, Khalie pops back up and addresses the situation herself. According to her own public statements, she and Preston had been traveling. They'd been staying in hotels and motels and Holiday Inns, and P. Stain had reportedly been booking accommodations, costing around $600 per week. According to Khalie, approximately $18,000 had been spent during roughly a month-long period. She estimated that approximately $3,000 remained afterward.
Touched. Turns out money was being touched. And then whenever we went on our vacation, because he got mad at his dad, obviously the money was being touched, and I knew that. I just didn't know how much of it was being touched, and I didn't get to know until he started asking me for my last $3K that I had, that my mother, she made me a bank account. I have my own bank account. Yes, I do. After being with him for like a month, booking different places, I was in Georgia at this time, I had no idea that we didn't have any money. And so he was like, my car insurance is going to be $500 this month, and I only have $200. And that's whenever I found out that all the GoFundMe money was gone.
This is where the public record becomes less precise. There is no publicly available ledger. There is no publicly available bank statements. There are no public receipts showing where every dollar went. Nobody outside the people directly involved can honestly provide a complete accounting. What exists instead are estimates. Hotel expenses, travel expenses, vehicle expenses, food, gas, daily living expenses, and supporters attempted to reconstruct spending based on known timelines and publicly available information. And the internet did math. Lots of math. It would make Daddy Chonks proud because people were trying to answer one question. How does more than $21,000 disappear while the underlying crisis remains largely unchanged? The question became the center of the controversy, not because $21,000 is a possible amount of money to spend, because, listen, it is absolutely not. Especially if someone is paying for hotels, transportation, food, emergencies, and day-to-day living expenses without stable housing, though, for sure. The problem was the perception. The audience believed they were funding an escape. Instead, many felt like they had funded a pause button. The crisis looked different. But to many supporters, it did not look solved. And that feeling changed everything, because once supporters start feeling like investors instead of donors, the relationship changes. People stop asking, how can I help? And they start asking, where did the money go? And since we're talking about following the money and where does the money go, we got to talk about this part, which is going to be really frustrating. And it's a major part where a lot more people started checking out emotionally, because up until this point, viewers had seen a lot. They'd seen the mold and the rats and the bugs and the holes in the floor and the GoFundMe drama and the pea-stained Preston scandal, the money, the vacation, the excuses, the contradictions. And somehow, through all of that, there were still people trying to give Khalie grace, because she was young, she was traumatized, and she had clearly been failed by the adults around her. And also, Preston is clearly a walking red flag factory. So people are looking at the situation and like, okay, maybe this is messy, but she is also being exploited. But then Rambo got sick. And baby, I've said this before, I'll say it again, animals change the conversation. Animals don't understand trauma. Animals don't understand poverty. They don't understand GoFundMe fraud. They don't understand how Reddit works. They don't understand who is lying, who's manipulating, who's overwhelmed, who is broke, who is responsible, or who is technically the legal owner. Animals just suffer. And that is what made this chapter so hard for people to watch. Because Rambo was not a side character in internet drama. Rambo was a creature trapped in the same chaos that everyone had been arguing about for months. And according to the timeline, the Rambo situation starts somewhere around October to December of 2024. And at first it begins with Khalie asking, what can you give a dog for an upset stomach? Which on its own doesn't sound insane. Dogs get upset stomachs. Dogs. They eat things that they shouldn't and tend to be dramatic little garbage disposal with Paul. So at first people probably thought, okay, maybe he ate something and he needs some bland food. Maybe this is one of these like pet owner panic moments. Take deep breaths, girl. It's going to be okay. But then it kept going. A few days later, people were asking, how's the dog doing? And there are videos where the house literally has vomit, diarrhea, stains on the floor. And at some point, the situation starts to feel less like, my dog had an upset stomach, and more like, why has this dog not seen a vet yet? And then the details just get worse, because according to the timeline, dead mice were found near Rambo's kennel with organs hanging out, which immediately made people wonder if poisoning could have been involved. And honestly, can you blame them? This is not a normal house. This is a house where Khalie had been cleaning around infestations. A house where there were rats, mice, roaches, bugs, poisons, cleaning products, rotting food, mold, God knows what else. This was not a controlled, safe environment. This was not a cute little suburban living room where the family dog randomly got into a piece of chicken. Honey, we're talking about a biohazard with furniture. So when people heard dead mice were near the dog's kennel and the dog was sick, they immediately started asking, did Rambo eat something poisoned? Did he get into something toxic? Was he eating dead rodents? Was something in that house slowly killing him? And to be clear, we don't know. I'm not a veterinarian. Reddit is not a veterinarian, despite their confidence. But those questions did not come out of nowhere. They came from the environment people had been watching with their own eyes. Then Khalie comes back after being gone for 5 days. And according to the timeline, Rambo is actively vomiting and having diarrhea. The thing that made people so upset is that this did not seem to be a day one issue. It seemed like this had been going on. Then Khalie comes with more updates, more vomit, more diarrhea, more signs that this dog was declining. And according to Khalie's own words, she repeatedly emphasized that Rambo was not her dog, not her dog. And that was one of the first things that really rubs people the wrong way, because before the final vet visit, the language around Rambo seemed really distant.
What you were about to witness is a half-ass clean. What are those stains on the floor? Oh, one can only wonder. What is that?
a dead rodent. Khalie's been gone for 5 days. Moldy pumpkin. I was feeding it to my dog because he's sick. All the stains on the floor, all that shit on the floor, it's actually shit. Or at least that's what I would like to believe. At least that's what I'm telling myself to comfort myself. How the fuck can I find comfort in the fact that my dog is sick and anorexic and nobody has taken him to the vet? They're just like, oop, we're gonna give him some tapeworm pills. I'm not trying to bash or shit my family, but the dog can do that all he wants to. And I'm gonna leave that shit in the fucking floor. I would clean it, but it disgusts me way too bad. Not only does it disgust me, but I just don't see how everybody can just walk past it and not give a fuck. It's incredibly triggering for me to look at and just wonder, hey, what is that? But then I remember my dog is sick. So yeah, here's just a couple of the stains. I did try to wipe one up with Lysol, didn't work too well. And here's one by the fucking cords. And now that I'm done doing my fucking work, because what else is there to do? I can't really do anything. I just want out of here. And I already ruined my life. Here's a fun little funny fact. The pillows I get from my Amazon wish list are used to protect the outlet from the leaky ceiling. And I'm not trying to shit on my family, but it rains in the living room. And the least you can do is fix the leak. What the f? Really hate to post this video, but obviously my dog has been medically neglected for a very long time. And in order to get treatment or even find out what is wrong with him, I will be charged $600. Which is money I have to use to leave my living situation. This is his current condition. He started urinating all over himself the moment that I touched him. He is no longer fighting back. But yeah, not asking for help, just sharing my situation. I'm not going to be able to afford all of these tests and go anywhere in my life. What the fuck should I do? This is not my animal. I do not legally own him, but I am claiming now to legally own him so that I can do this visit. And I don't know if I should spend my savings on this, but because I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna make it. Hey boy, he can't keep anything down. Look at his ribs, and he shit blood all over the floor, and there's vomit all over the couch. So, being my realest self right now, bro, I had to take him to the vet myself. And it's hard because it's not my animal, but he is the family dog, so I will take responsibility. I have my card and I am safe. But the moment I can finally do something about it is the moment it might just be too late.
This is not my animal. I do not legally own him, the dog, the animal. And I understand why people notice that, because when responsibility is expensive, suddenly there's a distance. But when the grief video came, the language changed. Then it was, my dog, my Rambo, my protector. And baby, people was side-eyeing that. They caught that. They absolutely did catch that.
Hey, boy. I'm getting a clay pop right now. I'm putting him to rest because they say that it's not, I just spent $300. They say that it's not possible to save him and then it's inhumane to keep on, trying. He has something in his ribcage. He ate a bone, and has been extremely sick. So I made the decision to put him down because I can't afford a $1,000 surgery that they say he won't even survive because he's so anemic. So here's my puppy. Here's my Rambo, my only protector past my cardboard door. The only reason I ever felt safe in my house. He's only 2 years old. Here's my dog. Everybody say bye-bye.
Now, do I think Khalie was the main adult responsible for Rambo? Absolutely not. I'm going to be very clear. The adults in that house were responsible. Her father, her father's girlfriend, the mom, anybody, the adults who had the dog, the adults who allowed the dog to live in those conditions, the adults who saw Rambo declining and did not get him proper care sooner. Y'all can please walk out into the ocean and just disappear as well, please. Rambo also was reportedly only about 2 years old. 2 years old. That is a baby. That dog should have been running, playing, eating, destroying toys, chewing on furniture, annoying everybody, and living his perfect little dog life. Instead, he was wasting away in a house full of mold, mice, vomit, diarrhea, and pure chaos. So no, I'm not putting the main blame on the teenager who was already living in dysfunction, but I am also not going to pretend people were wrong for being disturbed by how this situation was handled. A crisis, a cost, a reason she can't afford it, a public post, a moral dilemma for viewers like you. Because if you're watching a sick, emaciated dog, you want to help. But if you've already seen the GoFundMe controversy, the pee stain situation, the money disappear, you're also going to wonder, where's this money going? Is it going to the vet? Is it going to Khalie? Is pee stain gonna get it? Is this another emergency where people donate and end up confused, bamboozled later? And that is where the audience started tearing itself apart, because no one wants to be the person who refuses to help a dying dog. But nobody wants to feel like they are being manipulated with the dying dog either. And that tension is exactly why this part of the story made so many supporters just check out, because it was emotionally unbearable. Eventually, according to Khalie's narrative, the vet found a chicken bone in Rambo's gut and reportedly said surgery would be very expensive, possibly around $1,000 or more. And because Rambo was so anemic and weak, he probably would not survive the surgery anyway. So the decision was made to euthanize him, and that is horrifying. But what makes it even worse is the timeline, because by the time Rambo finally gets to the vet, it sounds like he is already so far gone that the options are basically impossible. And that is what people could not get past. Not just that he passed away, but that he appeared to suffer for a very, very long time before he died. Months, according to the commentary on Reddit. Months of vomiting, months of diarrhea, months of weight loss, months of people noticing something was wrong, months where someone could have surrendered him, called a rescue, called a shelter, asked for help sooner, done something. Anything. And I do understand that vet care is expensive. I get it. People are broke. I know. Sometimes you love an animal and you just can't afford the care that they need. That is a horrible reality. But if an animal is suffering for that long, doing nothing is not an option. Surrendering an animal is heartbreaking, but watching them waste away in a house is worse. That is the part people could not forgive. Then came the donation controversy, because apparently Khalie had posted asking for donations or help related to Rambo's medical care. But after Rambo was euthanized, she updated Instagram, not TikTok, and the TikTok donation post allegedly stayed up for a while after he had already been put down. And that is where a confrontation happens. Khalie gets confronted about the fact that the donation post stayed up and that people may have continued donating after Rambo was already gone.
He was put down and your post asking for donations for him was kept up for a long time.
Oops.
So what happened to those donations after he was already put down?
After he was put down?
Yeah, and you kept getting donation because the post stayed up.
I think that's just in my savings now. I hope y'all know that I wasn't donated that money before. I wasn't donated that money before he was put down. I was donated that money.
Also donated money before because you had that post up before and after.
You said people donated after.
Both.
A lot of the donations were, I posted an update after he was put down because I couldn't afford the thousands and thousands of dollars it was going to cost to save his life. Because it would have cost thousands of dollars to save his life.
You had $3,000 at the time, though.
I did, and it would have costed more than that because it was $1,000 a night at the vet.
And then you also got donations and continued to get them after he was put down because you didn't tell them until way later that he was put down.
I told them the day. I told them right whenever he was being put down. I posted it the same day.
I remember you posting that.
I posted it the same day. I posted it minutes after. I was saying that I didn't know what to do. I didn't tell. I wasn't like there, and I was like, "Oh my God, donate to me." I was saying I don't know what to do or how I'm gonna be able to afford it. From my memory, I wasn't asking for donations. This is all I have left. And what happened was
not update TikTok.
What?
You did not update TikTok.
Yeah, no, I know. I was only on Instagram, and
Yeah, but you did still have the donation post up on TikTok.
Yeah. Okay.
You did not update on TikTok.
All right. Well. Yeah, I noticed that I only had 2 posts on my Instagram and 1 on my TikTok.
because I posted one to TikTok, and then I posted one to Instagram, and then I uploaded it to Instagram because that's where I was getting the most feedback at the time of what
You updated later. I want to confirm that you did, but not until way after the dog had been put down.
Yeah.
On TikTok specifically.
That day was a really, really hard day, obviously. That day was a day that I spent, like, over 500, a little over 500, 400, 500, just for the euthanasia of Rambo. And, I wouldn't have, what makes me so, upset about the situation is the fact that if I waited to take him, because the vet said he could survive another night. If I waited to take him to the vet the next day, and I had those posts up about him, then I could have saved his life. But he's dead now, and it's my fault. So
I wouldn't say it is your fault. I think people are mad about the donation aspect of it, but I would not say it's your fault because that dog had been mistreated.
And I mean, y'all, her answer did not help. At one point, when asked what happened to the donations after he was put down, she says something along the lines of, I think that's just my savings now. And baby, it's giving foolishness. But that's the kind of sentence that makes a supporter close the app, stare at the wall, and reconsider every dollar they had ever sent, because even if she did not mean it maliciously, even if she was overwhelmed, traumatized, overstimulated, grieving, even if she was trying to explain badly, my girl, that is a terrible answer. When people donate because they believe money is going to a sick animal's medical care and then the animal dies, you cannot casually frame leftover donations as my savings now. That's how you lose support. That's how you lose followers fast. Because this is not just about the amount of money. This is about trust. And by this point, trust was already hanging on by a wet paper towel. So when she is confronted, she explains that she did post updates, but mostly on Instagram. She says she posted the same day. She says that she was not intentionally trying to keep people uninformed. She's just saying the day was really hard. She spent $400 or $500, maybe more, on the euthanasia and related costs. If you're asking me, I do believe that day was hard. I believe putting him down was super traumatic, and I believe she was overwhelmed. But the issue people had was not whether she cried. The issue was communication, mama. The donation requests lived on TikTok, but you updated Instagram. And when you ask one audience for money, you cannot update a different audience and expect people to not have questions, especially not after the money drama that had already happened, especially not after people already felt misled, especially not when the post asking for help allegedly remained visible after the emergency had already ended. And this is why this became such a huge turning point, because for supporters, it felt like another example of the same pattern: crisis, emotional post, donation request, confusing update, missing clarity, confrontation, explanation that somehow raises even more questions. And by this point, the people was tired. The people was tired of caring. The people was tired of worrying. The people was tired of donating, tired of asking for updates. We was tired of feeling guilty, tired of feeling suspicious, tired of feeling like every tragedy came attached to a cash register and a comment section war. Then there was another detail that people discussed, because there was a Reddit post claiming that on Snapchat, Khalie said that she could not hold Rambo while he was euthanized, and she went into the corner screaming. I didn't really want to say anything about her Snapchat stories because losing an animal is sad. However, I was appalled when I got to I tried to hold him while they were euthanizing him, but I couldn't. So I ran to the corner of the room and I screamed and screamed, and I plugged my ears and I just screamed. Your dog spent the last moments of his life listening to his human scream in distress. To be fair, I've never had to put a pet down, thankfully, but I'm still judging this action of hers. Girl, same. Even if it was because of intense grief, I would try to make my pet as comfortable as possible so they can feel comforted and safe in their final moments. Also, her saying, "How could you love yourself after this?" about putting a pet down rubbed me the wrong way too. It just kind of feels disrespectful to people who also had to put their animals to sleep, almost implying that they shouldn't feel good about themselves. I don't know about that ending part, but I don't even know, y'all. Editing Mama Chancla. Listen, some of y'all are listening. I wanted to read that. That was put on the Reddit. Now, I do want to be careful because that part is based on a Reddit claim, but if that is true, I understand why people reacted so strongly to this. I'm not going to judge someone for struggling to be present during euthanasia. That is one of the hardest things a pet owner can ever do. It is brutal. It's traumatic. It stays with you forever. But I'm going to keep it real with y'all. It's not funny, but seriously, if an animal's final moments are happening, the goal should be peace. Comfort, calm, safety, not more chaos, not more panic, not making their last moments about your inability to regulate, baby. And again, I say that with compassion and frustration at the same time, because I understand grief is messy, but Rambo really deserved peace at the end, especially since Rambo was an animal who apparently did not get much peace before that. And then, to make everything even more complicated, people started questioning whether the chicken bone was really the whole story. Because a lot of people were speculating that the bone may have been the final problem, not the original cause of his decline. Because Rambo was described as emaciated, anemic, sick for a very long period of time, vomiting and having diarrhea over and over. And people wondered whether he could have gotten into dead mice, poison, cleaning chemicals, contaminated food, parasites, or something else in the house. Again, we do not know. The chicken bone may have been the immediate medical crisis, but I'm just saying, the people questioned whether the house itself had been slowly contributing to his decline long before that final vet visit. And honestly, that question makes a lot of sense to me because that house was not safe for people, for animals, for everybody. So when people saw Rambo die, they did not just see one sad pet story. They saw the consequences of the environment, the consequences of adults failing, the consequences of neglect being normalized, the consequences of chaos becoming daily life. And that's why I think Rambo is a huge part of this storyline. Because Rambo was the moment the audience realized the chaos was not staying contained. It was spreading. It was touching everything. The house, the family, the animals, the donors, the followers, the people trying to help. Everybody was getting pulled into the same pattern. And I think for a lot of supporters, Rambo was the moment they could not emotionally justify staying invested the same way anymore, because it is one thing to watch someone make bad choices with their own life. It is another thing completely to watch an animal or child suffer inside those choices. And even if you believe the main responsibility belonged to the adults in the house, the way the donation situation unfolded made people feel manipulated by Khalie again. Not necessarily because they hated Khalie, but because they felt exhausted by the cycle. Crisis, emotional emergency, ask for money, unclear update, confrontation, explanation. Another group of people arguing over whether this was trauma, poverty, manipulation, neglect, or all of the above. And baby, that is the problem. Because by the time Rambo died, people were not just grieving a dog. They were grieving the version of the story they wanted to believe in. They were grieving the girl with the broom in the beginning. And they wanted to believe that if they helped enough, things would get better. They wanted to believe the packages mattered, the donations mattered, the encouragement mattered, the escape plans mattered. But Rambo's death made people confront something much darker. Sometimes help does not fix the pattern. Sometimes money does not fix the pattern. Sometimes attention does not fix the pattern. Sometimes the chaos just keeps finding new victims, and Rambo was one of them. And that is why the Rambo storyline matters in this. Because after Rambo, the vibes were different. The audience was different. The sympathy was still there for some people, but it was severely bruised. The trust was weaker than ever. The patience was thinner than ever. And the next time a crisis happened, people were not just asking, how can we help? They were asking, are we being manipulated? Are we being scammed? Are we watching the same thing happen again? And just when the internet had finally finished arguing about fundraisers, vacations, bank accounts, Rambo's death, Christmas showed up like it does every year, because apparently this story enjoys emotional whiplash. According to Khalie, Christmas had largely stopped happening in the house, of course. No decorations, no presents, no traditions, no magic. At least not anymore.
Hey motherfuckers, and happy holidays. Time to make some Christmas magic in my deteriorating house for my 12-year-old brother, who is only relying on me for Christmas because none of my parents do Christmas. So hi, my name is Khalie. I'm 18 years old. Let's clean this motherfucker. Got a lot of cleaning to do. Gonna decorate it even more just to show him that Christmas is even closer. And wrap all kinds of gifts, stuff the stockings, and do absolutely everything I can in my power to make this fucking magical for this dude because he deserves it.
So Khalie decided she was going to make Christmas happen herself. Not for TikTok, not for views, for her little brother. And honestly, this is one of those moments where you remember exactly why the internet fell in love with her in the first place. Because for all the controversy surrounding Khalie, there was always this recurring pattern. If there was a gap where an adult should have been standing, she tried to stand there herself. Sometimes successfully, sometimes unsuccessfully, but she did try. According to her videos, she cleaned the house, she decorated, she wrapped presents, she filled stockings, put together Christmas for her younger brother because she believed nobody else was going to do it. And people responded again. Wish lists appeared, followers bought gifts, followers bought decorations, followers helped create a Christmas that otherwise might not have happened. For a brief moment, it felt like old TikTok Khalie again. The cleaning videos, the underdog story, the internet community showing up to help. And for a brief moment, people remembered why they cared. And I want to say it might have just been they were in the Christmas spirit. But then something else was happening in the background, and I got to point this out. The allegations surrounding Preston were no longer whispers. Public accusations involving grooming and inappropriate relationships with younger girls had already circulated online publicly. The phone calls had already leaked. The conversations had already happened. The discussions about age had already happened. The discussions about money had already happened. And for many followers, Preston had already become radioactive. Photos surfaced showing him back in Khalie's house and around her family. And this upset a lot of people. Not simply because Khalie appeared to still be involved with him. People stay in unhealthy relationships all the time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, trauma bonds exist, dependency exists, leaving is complicated. The thing that really frightened people was that there were younger siblings in the home at this time. Regardless of where anyone landed on the allegations, a significant portion of the internet had already concluded they believed Preston was unsafe. And seeing him around younger children after all of that felt alarming to a lot of followers, including me. Again, that's public perception, not a criminal finding, not a court ruling, public perception. But public perception drives the internet reactions, and the reaction was intense, baby. For some people, this felt like another betrayal. For others, it felt like another example of how trauma and instability make it difficult for people to leave relationships that outsiders view as obviously dangerous. Personally, I felt tired and annoyed because, again, why are the parents okay with this? And this story keeps doing the same thing every time. And when the audience was ready to walk away angry, Khalie would do something that reminded them that she was still a teenager, trying to hold together pieces of a life that had been falling apart for a very long time. And at this point in time, Khalie was a kid trying to make Christmas happen for her little brother, even though Peace Dane was there. She was a kid trying to become the adult she wished she had. But then somehow, inevitably, the chaos would find its way back in. And unfortunately, the next time chaos showed up, it arrived with smoke alarms.
My house just burned down. Lucky me was in a fucking hotel, and my lizard just died. Party fucking hard, and all of the shit that was ever donated to me has been burned. Dude, and this is the weather. This is the fucking weather. So yeah, PSA, we're not gonna be making any more cleaning videos from that house, but thank y'all all for watching. Anyways, everything that I brought with me to the hotel is all that I own anymore. I don't own anything else. The tank I just built, not a tank I just built, the lizard is actually what's killing me, because I thought that she did have a better life. No, she's fucking dead. She burned. All my dad's guitars, and my dad loves to play fucking guitar. All of his guitars burned. He doesn't have a house, and he doesn't have enough money to afford furniture. Such a fucking stupid motherfucker for spending any goddamn money that I had, dude. I'm so done. Like, first Rambo dies and then the entire house burns down, dude. What the fuck? I wanted to renovate it so bad. I wanted to take care of it so bad. It's fucking gone. Mom says there's nothing left of it. So I basically just lost all my clothes, all my writings, all my poems, all my books, all my baby shit. I lost everything that was donated for me to move out. I lost everything. And more importantly, my family just lost their house, dude. Oh my fucking god. But peace. Oh my god.
Yep, the house burned down. After years of mold, years of leaks, years of electrical problems, years of videos showing extension cords damaged, ceiling, water intrusion, and unsafe living conditions, the house finally caught fire. According to public statements, the fire reportedly started in the attic after an electrical issue related to a leak. And honestly, nobody following this story was surprised that that house burned down. People were horrified, people were devastated, but surprised? No, because the audience had spent years watching Khalie document conditions that many people believed were actively dangerous. This wasn't just a messy house. This wasn't clutter. This wasn't dirty dishes. People had watched mold spread through the walls, water damage spread through the ceilings. We had watched electrical concerns get mentioned repeatedly. At one point, Khalie had reportedly mentioned previous smaller electrical fires occurring in the home. Then came January 2025. The house was gone. Not damaged, not repairable, gone. The fire department reportedly determined that very little was salvageable. The family lost furniture, clothing, beds, personal belongings, keepsakes, photographs, instruments, electronics, books, childhood belongings, household items. And Khalie spoke publicly about losing her writings, her poems, her books, her clothing, belongings she had accumulated to move out, all the things people donated on the Amazon wish list. Her dad lost his guitars, furniture, clothing, his home itself. The younger siblings reportedly lost nearly everything they owned. A bearded dragon died in the fire because the family reportedly could not safely reach the enclosure during the collapse and evacuation. The cat survived. The lizard did not. At the time of the fire, Khalie herself was staying in a hotel with P. Stain Preston. Ironically, that may have resulted in her losing fewer possessions than the rest of the family because many of her immediate belongings were already with her. Then came GoFundMe. And this is where every previous controversy immediately came flooding back into the room. The fundraiser exploded. Not a few $100s, not $10,000, more than $60,000. That is an extraordinary amount of money, especially for a family that had just lost their home. And initially, many people were happy to donate because despite everything, house fires are terrible. Losing your home is terrible. Losing your childhood belongings is terrible. Losing pets is terrible. Most people can separate criticism of someone's choices from compassion for their suffering. But within days, people started asking questions. Questions that probably would not have existed if the previous GoFundMe controversies had never happened. Questions like, who controls the money? Whose bank account is attached? Who is the beneficiary? Who can withdraw the funds? Who can move the money? Where is the money going? Hello? Because the fundraiser was described publicly as being for her father and her family. But according to discussions that later emerged online, her father was not initially listed as the beneficiary of the fundraiser.
Have ran with the $60,000 that's in his account.
His account?
That's what some people think, yeah.
All right. Well, listen to me. I never, and never will, ever look at this man's phone. Ever. Because I don't fucking trust him. I don't trust a man, and I'm not about to get my heart broke. But I can't. There's nothing I can tell you about his bank account. I know nothing about it. I know nothing. It did go to his account. He never told me, and I wouldn't. And I don't know about that. If it did go to his account, then that would be extremely fucked up. I disagree, or I highly doubt it did. I don't think it did. But if it did, then I don't know about it. I count. And I got proof of that. But I also have his bank statements.
If he comes back here, I have his bank statements.
This was not the first fundraiser. This was fundraiser number 4, baby. People remembered the Move Out fundraiser. They remembered the car fundraiser, the Independence fundraiser, and they remember the vacation. They also remember that missing $18,000 in the car title and the beneficiary concerns. The trust account had already been emptied long before the house burned down, and rumors spread quickly, almost quicker than that fire. And some people believed Khalie was withdrawing the money. Some believed Preston Peastain was withdrawing the money. Some believed Peastain's account was attached. And some believed the money had disappeared completely and that the family would never see it. Other people believed another vacation was coming soon. And most of those rumors exploded because there was very little information available publicly at the time. Months later, Khalie released emails showing lengthy back and forth communication with GoFundMe regarding beneficiary verification documentation requirements. According to those emails, GoFundMe required proof of the fire. They required proof regarding the intended beneficiary. They required additional documentation. Beneficiary information had to be corrected and verified. Appeals occurred over multiple months. Eventually, according to those records, approximately $58,000 was reportedly transferred to her father. The fundraiser remains visible but closed to donations today, with approximately $61,000 raised. But even after that explanation arrived, another question remained. Why was her father not the beneficiary from the beginning? That question never really went away, neither did another one. Why were strangers rebuilding the life of a man many viewers blamed for the conditions that made Khalie famous in the first place? Because this was not some random family house. This was the mold house. This was the house where viewers watched children grow up around mold, leaks, rats, unsafe wiring, and neglect. This is the house where Rambo got sick, the house that thousands of people believe children should never have been living in. For some people, donating felt obvious. A family lost everything. For others, donating felt impossible because in their minds, they weren't rebuilding victims. They were rebuilding the person they believed allowed the conditions to happen in the first place. Those two reactions existed side by side. And honestly, I understand both. Because compassion for tragedy and criticism of parenting decisions are not mutually exclusive. You could feel terrible that somebody lost their home, but you can also question how that home was maintained. Both things can be true. Unfortunately, the fire didn't end the chaos. If anything, it scattered the pieces and spread them across half of the state. So now we've arrived to the part in the story where I stopped asking, why doesn't Khalie leave? And started asking, why can't Khalie leave? Because those are not the same question. And if you've ever loved somebody who kept going back to the person who was hurting them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So by January of 2025, Khalie had lost almost everything in the fire, but for the first time in a long time, it also looked like she might finally be building something. She got a job and she was cleaning Airbnbs. And honestly, it was kind of perfect. The entire internet knew Khalie as the girl cleaning impossible houses. The internet was introduced to Khalie scrubbing mold off the walls. This girl was trying to carve stability out of chaos, one trash bag at a time. So now she's getting paid to clean? That's amazing. She talked about mopping walls. She talked about working 5 hours and only having one panic attack. I mean, girl, get it. She talked about how proud she was. She talked about getting new shoes because hers burned in that fire. And for a brief moment, y'all, she sounded hopeful. Not performatively hopeful either. Not like influencer hopeful, cheesy hopeful, like actually hopeful.
With me to my cleaning job, where we will rate the cleaning supplies they supplied me today. That door was real dusty, sorry y'all. But anyways, I'm starting upstairs on the 4th floor, starting at the top of this building that is rented as an Airbnb. And right now, yes, this is what I would have done. I am dusting the walls and I am dusting the doors. We don't mess with spiders. You can call me Spider Lily. Their webs are bad. I really like spiders though. I am very opinionated whenever it comes to cleaning supplies because I was donated a ton. Now I was asked to use Pledge to wipe off all the marks that are on the wall, but for those of y'all who do not know, Pledge is not a disinfectant, it is a wood polisher. You would spray this and wipe after disinfecting. Now that is a multi-purpose cleaner that I was using, and that is also a dry eraser. Coworkers call me brave for being able to use it because of the horrendous noises that it makes. And now I really hope nobody was in that room. What I really would have done in this situation, since it is a door and a door knob, I would not have used multi-purpose cleaner or Pledge on this door. I would have used bleach disinfectant wipes or Clorox because they're my absolute favorite. Sprayed a paper towel with Windex, and now I am carefully wiping down these glass paintings, making sure they don't get hurt. They are absolutely beautiful paintings. I'm Khalie the Flower Girl. I love flowers.
Her employer gave her extra clothes, offered support. Most importantly, though, her employer offered her somewhere to stay, an actual place, an actual bed, an actual exit route. And she didn't take it. And this was one of the first moments where people started realizing this wasn't just a housing problem anymore. Because for years, people had been saying she has nowhere to go. And suddenly she did. Then came the hotel live stream. And honestly, this is one of the hardest parts of the entire story for me to watch, because Khalie is sitting on the floor outside a hotel room that she says she paid for. And she's there with pee stain, locked out, no key. No access to the car, no access to the room, no access to privacy. She says she just wants the car keys so she can sit in the car alone. Not drive away, not run away, just disappear. Just sit by herself with the light on. And according to her, Preston wouldn't give her the keys. And that detail matters more than people realize, because people hear car keys. Survivors hear access, mobility, autonomy, the ability to leave, the ability to breathe, the ability to exist somewhere outside the reach of another person for 20 minutes, please. She starts talking about changing her payment apps, changing bank accounts, changing information, starting over. Then she says the sentence that I think explains this entire relationship better than almost anything else she's ever said publicly. I have nowhere to go.
Worked wonderfully. Nothing. I'm just not allowed to go to my car. So I guess I'm gonna go sit outside. I'm locked out of my own fucking hotel room that I paid for too. Yay, I'm in danger. Room. And I can't get the keys to the car to sit down and be alone. But it's alright. Told him we could do it peacefully. Change my info on everything. On my payment apps, change my bank account, but I have nowhere to go. And the only family I could go to is they're hospitalized. So I did lose access to the account, and then I regained access to the account after I abided by every rule that I had to follow in order to regain access to it.
Her father was hospitalized. Her family situation was unstable. The account situation was complicated, and every single road somehow led back to the same hotel room. And then Sheila enters the story, and honestly, God bless Sheila. Sheila doesn't know Khalie at all. She doesn't know TikTok. She doesn't know fundraiser. She doesn't know Reddit. She doesn't know the lore. But she does know exactly one thing. There's a young girl crying in a hallway, and that's all that Sheila needs to know. She goes up to Khalie and tells her she's too young to waste her life on somebody who hurts her. Sheila tells her that people who love you don't hit you. People who love you don't scare you. People who love you don't treat you that way. She tells her she's lived this herself, just like many of us have.
When you're done doing whatever you're doing, can you help me unlock the door to my room? Okay, thank you.
You don't have a key?
I don't know. I was closed out of the room and I don't have the key.
Alright, I can do that.
Oh, my flower. Come back. I don't need an extra key. I just need to be let back in. Because he already has the keys.
Life is too short to be with anybody that's going to mistreat you, because I promise you, when you get older and you get to be my age, you're going to look back and you'd wish you hadn't wasted one day on somebody that's not going to be good to you, okay?
Oh, that hurt all bad.
I know it's hard because I've been through it, but
I'm cool with it. I gotta do it.
You have to.
I know. Everybody's telling me.
You have to. There's too many people in this world that would be good to you. And anybody that hits on you, they don't love you, baby. And it won't change.
I know.
Because it's just in this part of who they are.
I know. It's hard because, it's that I need to get over. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna get over it.
You just need to look at yourself every day in the mirror and say that you love yourself, and that it's not worth it.
Yeah, I can't keep fighting for nothing, but I have to stay here because if I don't, I'm homeless. Dad's in the hospital now, and I can't stay with him. I have nowhere to go.
He's staying here too?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I don't want to get a separate room.
If you need anything or you have any, all you gotta do is yell.
I yell so much. I don't know if y'all hear me.
They do. So, all you gotta do is call that front desk and I can have it all stopped.
It's my phone. And that was it, stuff.
I know, I've been through all that. I know all the shit that they do. He takes your phone, he probably won't let you leave when you're trying to get out.
I tried to leave last night.
So what you have to do is when you do get out, you have to make sure that it don't happen again, because it's just going to keep getting worse and worse.
I know. My dog just passed away, so he got me this for Valentine's Day, and then he's gonna take it away from me because I don't want to be with him anymore.
That's crazy.
It's so mean.
It is, and you don't need somebody like that in your life.
Yeah. So lame.
So all you got to do is say the word, and
So suddenly, this toxic relationship isn't just living on live stream anymore. The hotel staff knows. The walls know. The people in the rooms next door know. This isn't internet drama anymore. This is real life. And of course, Khalie explains to Sheila she can't leave because she's homeless and that she doesn't want another room because Preston's staying there too. She says she can't stay with her dad. She says she has nowhere else. And she talks about him threatening to take away a gift he bought her for Valentine's Day, which again shows how childlike she is. Okay? She is trying. She talks about how she's trying to get out and leave and make it stop. And Sheila continues to tell her the same thing almost every survivor eventually hears from another survivor. It doesn't get better. It gets worse. Then Khalie goes back into the room. At this point, Khalie says she mutes the live stream, and she didn't. And for the first time, people got to hear Preston when he thought nobody else was listening. And trigger warning for anybody who's been in emotionally abusive relationships, you're going to hear it now. So just skip this part if you need to.
Yes, hang on, let me mute. Let me mute. What do you mean, what did I come in here and do? I came in here and Where's your key? Your room key?
Why'd you come in here and get the wallet?
Because I was gonna go talk to Sheila.
Why?
Because I wanted to talk to her.
About what?
I just wanted to talk to her.
What'd you talk to her about?
She's too busy.
What'd you talk about?
Anything, she's too busy.
Khalie, what did you talk to her about?
Nothing, I didn't talk to her about anything.
Khalie,
She's too busy.
Right now, come here.
Yeah.
What are you gonna talk to her about?
Then I'm just gonna talk to her.
About what?
Relationship advice.
No, you're not gonna talk to her about shit.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry.
What did you say online?
I haven't said anything bad on live.
What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
Sheila don't give a fuck about you.
What?
Because Sheila don't give a fuck about you, right? Is it good?
Yes.
What's wrong with you? Why are you on live right now? I'm trying to sleep.
Well, I'm not going to sleep. I got work in the morning.
Okay, well, then get the fuck off live and lay down so you can...
I'm not sleeping because if I sleep, I'm just going to be more tired.
Okay, well, Khalie, you have work in the morning, so...
I have work in the next few hours.
Okay, well, you don't know that.
I'm waiting for Beth to reply to me and let me know when I work.
Okay, well, Khalie, you should work up to 12, so you should get some rest until then.
I'm not resting. I'm not
Okay, well, have
tired.
fun being tired at work.
I'll have fun being tired at work. At least I'll sleep good tomorrow, tonight.
Yeah, okay.
I will.
What you trying to talk to Sheila for?
I just wanted to talk to her because she's being nice to me.
Okay, cool. Why are you in the lobby?
I was in the lobby because I got locked out of the room because he wouldn't give me the keys.
Okay, well, I don't need you out of the room, but...
Well,
You got your own key, right?
no, I don't.
How'd you get back in the room?
She had to get me back in the room.
Okay, then you can get your own key, bro. I don't know what the problem is.
I should have got my own key.
Well, you have one. We have multiple keys. You should keep up with yours.
I just don't get it.
What do you mean you don't get it?
I just don't get it.
You don't get what?
I don't get it. How you can be so mean.
How? No, come here. How am I being mean?
You're just constant.
Kelly, I'm not mean, bro. I'm just telling you, I don't want you in the car.
You don't want me in the car.
No.
Why?
Because you have a room in here and you need to sleep.
No, I just don't want to be around people.
Kelly, you are going to be around people. I don't need you running the car gas down.
I won't even have the car cranked. I just want the light.
Okay, well, bro, you don't need no light. Did you fucking have the... You have to have the car on if you're going to have the light on.
Whatever. I'm
Kelly, now I'm
continuing
not
my life.
talking to you. I'm not done talking.
I'm just gonna continue my life.
Yeah, not done talking to you. Come here.
Then you come here. You come here.
I am laying in the fucking bed because I've been up.
You've been up for what, 5 hours?
No, I've been up ever since fucking, I don't know, 6 p.m. It's almost been 12 hours.
Alright, so
It's fucking bedtime. You need to sleep.
it's bedtime for you. Go to bed.
Hey, well, hey, you're
The whole conversation feels less like two people talking and more like one person asking permission to exist. And maybe that's why it hit people so hard, because by this point, everybody already hated Pea Stain Preston, okay? The age gap was there. The allegations were already there. The grooming accusations were already there. This wasn't the moment people decided they disliked him. This was just the moment they heard him on a live stream. And hearing somebody is different than hearing about them. So then people started calling the hotel. A lot of people. Enough people that Sheila came upstairs. Sheila knocks on the door and offers help. And Khalie says, no, not tonight.
Oh my god. Wonder what that could be. I'm gonna stay on live the whole time. What? Uh-oh. I don't know. Should I mute?
fuck is this?
I don't know.
Hi.
Hi.
Come here. Come out here.
Just me?
Mm-hmm. Are you okay?
Huh?
Somebody just told me that you were streaming and that you needed streaming live.
Streaming? Yeah.
And needed to get out of there.
Oh, no. I don't need to get out of here at the moment.
Okay, so we're going to have to do something about this because people are calling the front desk repeatedly.
Yeah, I know.
You're okay. Are you streaming live talking about you need help and repeatedly?
I don't think. I know a lot of people are concerned for me. I have plans on leaving when he sleeps. I have a place to go. I have to Uber myself there. Here's my car. Get all my stuff and, get out.
If you need to get your stuff right now, we can get your stuff and you can come up front until you do whatever.
I just don't think I can do that today because I can't stay with them today. I have to wait until I have to talk to my boss about it. Because she wouldn't be expecting that. She'd be like, what? I don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh.
Okay, so do you need out of there now?
He's not harming me. I don't need out of there at this moment.
Then she goes back in the room and later tells viewers she went live because she was scared. For her own safety. Those were her words, not ours.
Good. What was the post about? Oh, it wasn't about S. It's about A in every form. Financial. Special. Thank you for the gift. Abuse in every way, but I'm safe right now, so and by the way, I never scammed anyone. Why'd you delete that post? So I didn't get my ass whooped. What do you mean? Girl, you got my ass whooped.
You already know.
I literally just went live for my own safety, Preston.
Khalie, you're not unsafe, so stop doing that shit.
You told me
Khalie, just fucking...
that I would not be okay.
Khalie, I didn't say that. I said we're not gonna be okay because it's gonna be causing a problem. That doesn't mean you're not gonna be fucking safe.
Then we need to talk about the injury, the emergency room, the scans, the x-rays, the reports of blurred vision and difficulty walking due to a head injury. And she had injuries to her hands, injuries to her body. She talks about being slammed into furniture, glass breaking on her head, being pushed into a dashboard because she was brake checked.
I'm in the ER, getting x-rays and brain scans done because of injuries done to my head and my hands and my body lately. So, police got involved. When I have a concussion, I was slammed into multiple pieces of furniture. And glass broke on my head, slammed into a dashboard. I'm fine though. I'm just trying to make sure that my head's good because I've been having difficulty walking, vision is blurry.
Editing Mama Chancla here. I also forgot to mention they drove to like ER, a hospital like hours away, or maybe an hour away. And so the cop was a little bit sus, and you'll see why this is important here shortly.
But it doesn't altogether make sense for you guys to drive all the way over here for you to get checked out unless there's something else. Is there something else you're worried about? You don't have a warrant out of Arkansas, do you?
Do I have a what?
Do you have a warrant out of Arkansas?
What does that mean?
So that I would take that as a no.
No, I don't know what that
I'm just trying to come up
means.
with a really good logical reason for you to drive all the way from West Memphis.
Well, I told him that these doctors treat me better.
Okay, are you familiar with Bolivar?
Yes, I'm familiar with Bolivar. I grew up in Grand Junction. I grew up in Grand Junction, Tennessee.
So you know Bolivar, don't you?
Yeah, this is the town I went to for therapy, town I went to shopping, my entire childhood, yeah.
So have you stayed anywhere in Bolivar in the last 24 hours? Or around here in Hardin County?
I haven't.
Salisbury, anywhere?
I visited Grand Junction, but I haven't stayed here. It's crazy.
Your head, that you hit your head on furniture?
Yeah.
You did? From him what? Pushing? Hitting? What? Pushing you.
Officer asked her directly if the injuries came from Preston pushing her at the ER. She says yes. The officer tells her the same thing that Sheila told her. People who love you don't hurt you.
Did you got any more questions? I know you got a lot of questions, but...
I'm worried about him.
Huh?
I'm worried about him. He seems sorry.
I mean, he does, but here's the thing. You guys could be back out of here in 2 hours, same thing happening again. When you got a problem and you don't deal with it, it's going to persist. It's going to happen again. And the last thing that needs to continue happening is you keep getting hurt. Okay? I'm going to tell you something from experience. All right? If somebody loves you, they're not going to hurt you.
Makes me sick to my stomach.
Okay?
Because I love him.
Yeah, well, sometimes we love people that don't feel the same as we do, or they don't know how to treat somebody maybe. But you don't have to know how to treat somebody right to love them right, okay? When it's there, it's there. When it's not, it's not. Okay?
I just want him to be okay.
You whatever you guys decide to do between yourselves is obviously up to you guys. My advice would be to try to move on, because you don't need to get hurt no more.
Yeah, I understand that. And I've been told that by everyone.
And, but is there anything I need to be aware of before I go out there and talk to him some more?
When the officer asks if she wants to press charges, she says no. She doesn't want to be a victim.
Apparently it happened to do, okay?
Yeah.
And I've got to ask you this, all right? It doesn't change what we do, okay? As the state of Tennessee is going to press charges regardless, but I have to ask if you are going to press charges yourself.
I'm not.
You're not going to?
No, sir.
Okay, you're just not willing to do that?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm ready for everything.
All right, it says, I am a victim of domestic violence and affirm that this information is correct. Let's see where that is at. What's the instructions? Injuries, yes. Possible minor loss I intend to press charges or to prosecute. I'm going to check no, okay? Because no is what you said. What is today's date?
31st.
1/31/25. Okay. I check no. I need your signature and then print your name legibly there. Or I mean signature here, print it legibly here, okay?
Yeah, I just don't want to be, I just don't want to call myself a victim, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
it's look. It's not being a victim or an offender is not what the point is. The point is that you are living a lifestyle that is hard.
I know.
Not easy. It's hard. It's hard on you. It's hurting you. Okay? And sometimes people get in this rut with other people in their life that they care about and they can't hardly get out of it. Okay? And you need to be able to get out of it. Okay?
And that part hurt too, because I think a lot of people recognize themselves in that sentence. And then comes the part they call it the scooter thing. Editing Mama Chancla and La Chancla here. This is why it's Investigation Chancla and we are the Chanclas. This is Nara. We call her La Chancla. But the scooter incident and why this caused like a major issue is basically because the police officer alluded to Khalie can take the car and leave Peace Stain because he's going to jail for domestic violence. And Khalie is like acting all weird like she doesn't want to, and she ends up taking Scooter back to the hotel when she should have just took her car and dipped. And so she ends up back with Peace Stain, and because the officer gets her the keys to the car, and the car is effectively in her possession. So for a moment, people think, this is it. This is finally it. And somehow she ends up back with Preston anyway. Not because she didn't have options, because by now options were everywhere. Her employer offered help, offered housing, offered clothes, offered transportation, offered support, offered a new bank account Preston couldn't access. Her employer offered to come pick her up immediately. Not eventually, immediately. And every time another door opened, she somehow found herself back standing in front of the same one she was trying to leave. Okay, so why it's important that they went to this hospital far away? It's probably because he has a pattern of this, for one. But even though the state's pressing charges, they weren't able to do anything. So Preston and Khalie end up back at a hotel.
Tennessee police can't do anything.
And then they start arguing because Khalie wants to get on live and talk. And so she gets on live. He gets irritated, kicks her cat, Twinkle, out in the hallway, and then kicks her out in the hallway. So she's got to go get an Airbnb. She has nowhere to go. She's on live. She's begging for money. She's, distraught, everything. But she also kind of seems like she's under some substances. So then she's like sitting outside of Kroger, lets Twinkle out to go pee-pee, and Twinkle don't come back.
To wait for my cat to return. Y'all told me to let her out. I thought I'm literally being trolled by people. I don't know what's right and what's wrong, and I don't know what to do in this situation. I've never been stranded in the middle of a city. I've never dealt with this in my entire life, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. The kitty's gonna be fine. She's gonna come back to me. I know she will. I know she will. I know she will, and I will wait here, and I will search here, and I will do anything I can to find her if I can. Okay? You don't need to buy me a lift. Do I have enough money? I don't know how much money I have. I don't know. I let her run around a little bit so she could go to the bathroom.
And so she's all upset and she's like crying and freaking out. And she's like, hey, everyone in the chat is trolling me, which like low-key they were, which is really cruel. But she is already having a bad day, but she's also stupid. Like, why she keep going back to Preston? So she has a follower come get her and drive her around, take her to the Airbnb or something. Then her boss gives her an Uber, gets the Airbnb for her, and Preston ends up coming back. I'm gonna read what the boss said. The boss was pissed. Dear Lord, I'm her boss. I've offered her her own effing apartment. Told her I would furnish it and everything. Matter of fact, about 6 hours after this video, she Ubered to my office and I took her to an Airbnb. She said she was tired, so I left her to sleep. And when I came back to check on her later, she was gone with him. Her location was off when I left and he knew nothing about this Airbnb. So she clearly purposely turned her location back on and left with him willingly. Yes, she's in a bad situation. Yes, he's AF. Physically, mentally, verbally, all of the above. He belongs in a trash can somewhere. But she's also using her situation to get y'all's money. Trust me, she's got plenty in the bank. She could go wherever she wanted. See what I'm saying? And that is the point where the internet started changing. Not because people stopped caring, because they cared so much, they were exhausting themselves. Because rescue fatigue is real, especially when every rescue attempt feels like watching somebody walk back into a burning building carrying the ladder you handed them. Then we also have to talk about the allegations surrounding benzodiazepines. And these remain allegations, public allegations, claims from people reportedly close to the situation. These are claims discussed publicly by people involved in helping her. Nothing more, nothing less. If those allegations are true, the story becomes even sadder. Coming from a recovering addict, checks out to me, looks like it, because now we're not talking about one trap, we're talking about trauma, housing insecurity, financial dependence, isolation, public scrutiny, a significantly older partner, and potentially addiction, standing in the middle of all of it. The internet spent years asking, why won't she leave? And maybe the better question was, what exactly would she have had to fight through to leave? Because those are very different conversations. And maybe that's the tragedy of this part of the storyline. People begged her to walk through these exits. And somehow every road still led back to Peace-Stained Preston. For years, the internet had a checklist. Get Khalie out of the mold house. Get Khalie transportation. Get Khalie money. Get Khalie a job. Get Khalie an apartment. Get Khalie away from Peace-Stained Preston. Simple, right? At least that's what everybody thought, because one by one, those things actually started happening. The house was gone, the car existed, the apartment existed, the job existed, the support existed, and somehow the situation still felt exactly the same. That realization hit people harder than almost anything else in this entire story, because for years, every conversation online came back to the same thing. She just needs resources. Then the resources arrived. She just needs support. Support arrived. Well, she just needs somewhere to go. Places to go appeared. Okay, well, she needs an opportunity. Opportunities appeared. And yet somehow, every road seemed to circle back to the same place. Peace-Stained Preston. By this point, Khalie had moved into her own apartment, an actual apartment. She had a front door. She had a lease. A place that wasn't a hotel room and wasn't the mold house. And for a brief moment, people were genuinely happy for her, because this was supposed to be the beginning of the success story. This was the apartment reveal. This was the we made it out girl chapter. It was supposed to be the part where she buys plants and thrifted furniture and argues with strangers online about where to put the couch. Instead, people started noticing something strange. Publicly, Khalie was increasingly presenting herself as single, like the relationship was over. Peace-Stain ain't around no more. Fresh start, new chapter. Then viewers started spotting him in videos. And there were discussions online about videos where people believed they could see him in the background of the apartment. And according to those discussions, some videos were removed and then later reposted with him edited or cropped out. Whether every single claim was accurate almost became secondary to the bigger issue here. People no longer trusted what they were being told. That trust had already been damaged by all the other stuff, the fundraiser, the controversies, the hotels, the disappearing money, and the constant cycle of leaving and returning. And now people felt like they were being asked to ignore what they believed they were seeing with their own eyes. Hello? And it was so frustrating. And that frustration grew quickly, not because people wanted access to her private relationships, but because a lot of people seriously believed that they had spent years helping someone escape a situation they viewed as dangerous. And finding out that the situation may not actually be over just felt devastating for people that actually cared about her. Then came the apartment questions. How was the rent being paid? Who was living there? Was Peace-Stained Preston even contributing financially? Was social media income paying for it? Was donation money involved? Was any of the fire fundraiser money involved? Because by this point, people still did not feel like they understood what had happened with the previous fundraising efforts. I mean, the car money, the hotel money, the moving money, the fire money, where's it at? Like, we need to run an audit. Questions that had never fully gone away suddenly came roaring back. And whether those suspicions were fair or unfair almost stopped mattering. Suspicion had become the default setting. Then came the substance allegations. This is probably one of the more sensitive parts of the entire story because unlike fundraisers or apartments or car titles, this is not something strangers on the internet can verify from public records. Public allegations began circulating that Khalie was using benzodiazepines, Xanax, Valium, similar medications, and Khalie publicly denied these accusations. But then screenshots and messages that were allegedly connected to conversations with her former employer started circulating online. And those messages included alleged concerns surrounding withdrawal symptoms if she separated from Preston. If authentic, the implication is significant because withdrawal is not recreational use. Withdrawal is dependence. And there were also public allegations and speculation online that Preston may have been involved in providing those substances. Those claims remain allegations. They have not been proven publicly. But if true, they dramatically change how people interpret the relationship dynamics they believe they were watching. Financial dependence is one thing. Housing dependence is another. Transportation dependence is another. Chemical dependence enters an entirely different category, especially considering the public concerns that already existed surrounding age, vulnerability, and control when the relationship began. Around the same time, viewers frequently accused Khalie of appearing intoxicated during live streams. She had slurred speech, confusion, erratic behaviors, moments where she appeared significantly impaired.
I would be the best mother. Don't disagree with me, you know I would.
In the future.
Not with you.
Now's not the time to have a child.
But baby. Because everything always has to do with you and I can never have anything.
You can never have any. Oh man, what do you need? Pills?
No.
That's all you're looking for right now.
Yeah, the meds that were refilled fucking yesterday.
It's not yours. And not for you.
That you started getting for me.
No, Khalie,
That's why you don't.
I have something to say. So, for everybody, don't mute it, okay? They're saying.
In response to criticism, she later completed an at-home drug test during live streams and videos, and the test reportedly showed THC. But critics immediately pointed out that the test shown publicly did not appear to include benzodiazepines, which were the substances most people had actually been discussing. Nobody cares about weed. Instead of ending the argument, the testing simply created another one. Then came health discussions. And honestly, this is where the internet started getting a little bit more messier because somewhere along the line, legitimate concern started blending together with armchair diagnoses. One condition that had existed publicly since almost the beginning of her content was the emetophobia, and it's an intense fear of vomiting. And longtime viewers generally considered this one of the most consistent and believable things that she had discussed publicly over the year. The fear appeared repeatedly throughout her content and appeared to affect food, routines, stress, daily functioning. Other conditions generated significantly more debate. Discussions surrounding tics became a major point of contention online. Some viewers believed her immediately, but others questioned inconsistency in the presentation.
By the way, according to the internet. So yeah, enjoy my cock, enjoy my fake ticks. Yeah, I bet you wish. Yeah, boy, you wish. I need a fucking knot. George? Why am I fucking triggered? If your cats are meowing back at me, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna read the comments. When did these come? Fuck you, Chucky. Cock pussy. Okay, these came.
Meanwhile, what many people did consistently observe was shaking, leg bouncing, handshaking, visible anxiety, restlessness, and whether people interpreted those behaviors as anxiety, trauma responses, medication effects, withdrawal, neurodivergent, or something else entirely, often depended on which version of the story they believed. Then came conversations surrounding eating problems. And YouTube's really strict on this, so I don't want to talk too much and I don't want to criticize somebody who was struggling, but they were worried because of the emetophobia and maybe things that she was posting online about different things, maybe like physical image and wanting to lose, you know. And others believed it was like because she had a fear surrounding the food because of her emetophobia. Trauma has never cared too much about staying inside one diagnostic box, and neither does addiction. But honestly, I think this is like a part of the story that's important, and also again proves another part where people started to struggle with the ability to separate individual problems from each other. Is it trauma? Is it addiction? Is it manipulation? Is it mental illness? Is it survival mode? Are we in denial? Is this a dependency? Is this just a public figure losing control of her own narrative? And the answer was probably some amounts of all of it, because human beings are so messy. Victims can lie. They lie all the time. Traumatized people are one of the most unreliable narrators. Addiction changes your decision making bad. Mental illness changes your decision making. None of those things erase harm though, and they don't erase accountability. And none of those things automatically erase the victimization either. That's the uncomfortable part. The internet, y'all really like the thing about the heroes and the villains, and this is another part of the storyline that just is going to refuse to cooperate for you, because by now the audience wasn't watching a rescue story. They're just watching gravity. Every time it looked like things were improving, something pulled everything back towards the same center point, and eventually the internet just started realizing something terrifying. You can crowdfund an apartment, you can crowdfund a car, you can crowdfund a security deposit, and maybe groceries, but you cannot crowdfund healing. You can't crowdfund sobriety. You can't crowdfund trauma recovery. And you cannot force someone to leave a situation they are not ready or able to leave. And that may be the hardest lesson this entire story had to teach people, because sometimes getting exactly what you asked for doesn't solve the problem. Sometimes it just reveals what the problem actually was all along. So we have reached the part of the rabbit hole that actually physically makes my stomach hurt, not because of the internet drama or the fundraising scams or the timelines and stuff. It hurts because somewhere along this way, this story stopped being about mold and GoFundMes and dysfunctional relationships and became a conversation about whether a young woman deserved empathy based on whether people thought she had been honest enough beforehand. And that is a terrifying place for any story to end up. So by April 2025, Khalie's credibility with large portions of the internet was hanging on by a thread. The fire had happened, the money questions had exploded, the refund arguments were ongoing, the audience had become investigators, every timeline was being dissected, every dollar was being audited, every inconsistency was being screenshotted. People weren't watching content anymore, they were watching evidence. Then the night in Memphis happened. And according to Khalie's original account, the night started with something stupidly normal, a phone charger. Her charging port allegedly stopped working correctly. Her phone kept cycling on and off, and the portable charger she had available was difficult to use while holding the phone. So in her mind, the solution was simple. Walk to a gas station and buy another charger. It was around midnight. Peace-Stain Preston was asleep, and according to her, he did not want to drive her to the store, so she decided to just go herself. She lived near several gas stations. It wasn't a huge deal to her, except it became one. She walked to a gas station, realized she had forgotten her wallet, no cash, no identification, no money, no functioning phone, no GPS, no way to call for help, no way to order a car, no way to pull up directions. She's just trying to remember landmarks well enough to make it home.
Anyways, my charging port on my phone was not working whatsoever, and I couldn't get it to work. I had to use this portable charger that you put on the back of your phone. I didn't want to use that because it was hard for me to hold my phone and use that at the same time. And then there was this glitch where it kept on turning on and showing me the Apple screen and then turning back off, and I was just like, ooh. So I freaked out about it, and I was like, okay, I just need to go get a new charger because Twinkle always tears up my chargers. Twinkle's my cat, for those of you who don't know. And my boyfriend wanted to sleep. He was tired. It was around 12 a.m. Reasonably, he's not going to drive me to a gas station to get a charger. But luckily, and a little unluckily, I live by a good few gas stations. Therefore, I decided to go on foot. I walked to a marathon, and that's whenever I realized I forgot my wallet, that I didn't have any money on me.
or my ID on me. Nothing. And as you know, my phone is not working.
There she saw a Circle K nearby and headed toward it because it looked busy. Lights, employees, customers, cars moving in and out, very public, people, safety. Especially, it's the middle of the night in Memphis. But that is where she says she met an older homeless man carrying food and pizza in a crate. And according to her account, he asked if she was homeless. Which, like, girl, like, don't talk to strangers. But she said no. And she told him that she had left after being angry with her boyfriend. And that's like the worst thing to say too if you're talking to strangers, especially a homeless person, a homeless man.
I went to Circle K because I know that place is like busy at night, people running in and out. Then I met this 50-year-old man who was holding pizza and stuff. He put it in a crate. He asked me if I was homeless. I said, no, I'm not homeless. I just left because I got mad at my boyfriend.
So he began encouraging her to go somewhere with him. And this is where a lot of the internet commentary turned into, why would you do that? And as someone who has struggled with addiction myself and has spent time around addiction, trauma, chaos, and survival mode living, that question kind of bothers me. I know, in hindsight, but for real, people in survival mode do not make survival decisions. People under the influence do not make sober decisions. People who have normalized danger stop recognizing danger. People who have spent years living in instability often develop a very different risk calculator than everyone else. What looks insane to outsiders often feels completely normal when like chaos is your baseline. And according to Khalie's own statements, she was already afraid of him. She admits that she was scared. She says that herself. But she also believed she could leave if she needed to, run if she needed to, escape if she needed to. And a lot of survivors tell versions of that exact story. I'll leave if it gets weird. I'll leave if it gets dangerous. The problem is that danger rarely ever announces itself politely enough to give you that chance. So, according to her story, her and that homeless man eventually ended up in an apartment where other people were present. Alcohol was involved. She says that she was encouraged to drink. She says that she was mocked for refusing to smoke, that Whitney Houston. At one point, she claimed she looked away from her drink and thought she saw something dropped into it, but she wasn't sure enough to accuse anyone, so she drank it anyway.
He immediately started trying to get me to go somewhere with him. And me having nothing to do, being angry at my boyfriend, I'm like, whoop, whatever. So I made the dumb decision to go with him wherever he wanted to go. I was like, because he swore to me it wasn't far, and I was scared of him. But I just was like, he says it's not far, and, I can run if I need to. Well, at least that's what I thought. Anyways, he takes me to this place, and I sit on the staircase until his friend lets me into the apartment. Now we're in this little apartment building, and they're giving me alcohol. I look away from my drink for a second, and I'm talking to this lady, the lady who owns that apartment. They are making fun of me for not smoking crack. But I look away, and in the corner of my eye, it looked like he dropped something in my drink. But I wasn't sure, and I wasn't gonna, accuse. I drank it anyway.
I'm sober now, and I have to say that decision horrifies sober people. Addiction counselors hear stories like that every day. It's just two different worlds. According to her account, she became intoxicated quickly, possibly more intoxicated than she expected, possibly intoxicated for reasons she did not understand. And then according to her, the situation escalated. She described, trigger warning, unwanted touching, attempts for physical contact and kissing. She did not consent to this. She describes freezing. She didn't want to escalate the situation. She didn't want to anger somebody she already feared. She was just trying to survive the next 5 minutes before worrying about the next hour. So eventually she convinced him to walk toward an area she recognized, somewhere she could orient herself and possibly get away, because by her own account, she was intoxicated, disoriented, and scared.
Soon after he started rushing me out of the apartment, he wanted to leave. And he told me that makes him very... He said he was just looking at me, and he was as the cement. Made it take forever to go to the hotel. I was walking there with him like a dumbass. But I was at a point where I was scared to run. Oh, did I mention that I was really, really drunk at this point, and he bought me alcohol, and I was like really drunk at that point. So I was not in my right mind whatsoever. That's the only thing I can say is probably the reason I was going to walk with him, because I didn't know how to get back, and I didn't feel safe walking alone. Over there, he
forced me to do the Glock, pulling my hair, cussing me out, calling me his bitch, forcing my head down until I got physically sick, facing my phobia. But he slapped me, because I tried to stop at that point, and he slapped me. And he was basically ripping my hair out at that point. He removed my clothes after I begged him not to, but quickly told me to put them back on. And then we start walking again. We're back on the way to the motel. I'm still very intoxicated. He brings me to these bushes where I had went to Walgreens earlier to go to the bathroom, and that's also where I did my ATM withdrawal. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I had my clothing forcefully removed. He's into ass, okay? I'm 4'11", he was like 6 foot. He kept on telling me to bend over against a concrete wall. I was really drunk, I fell, and I got hurt whenever I fell. He started bitching at me for that as well. He attempted, you know what, on my butt, and then got really mad at me because I was short. Anyways, I left my Walgreens bag in the bushes that he rushed me out of because he was so paranoid. Then he, on the way to the motel, because we are still on the way to the motel, he finds this little dumpster that's like, encaged with wood. He brings me in there. I'm thinking that it's just because, he's gonna light up his little, and, Meanwhile, peer pressuring me to do it, and I know that y'all think I do that type of stuff, but I don't, and I won't, and I never will, and they were calling me so lame for it. I did not fall for peer pressure a single time. Anyways, inside of that little dumpster enclosure, he ends up trying to attempt another, on me. Every time that I tell him no, I get cussed out. Every time that I tell him, hey, I don't want to do this, I am getting cussed out, and I'm getting grabbed, and I am getting, just forced to do stuff that I don't want to do. And I was afraid of him, so I gave in to a couple of things with him because I was afraid of him. I'd never met him before. I was afraid to run because I didn't know, because I was drunk and he wasn't. And the chances of me falling and him getting me seemed more dangerous than me being with him. So that's why I didn't run. Anyways, he dropped his little glass. He wanted me to look for it, but I didn't have a phone, so I couldn't shine a flashlight. He had a little flashlight on him. Turns out while he was looking for it, he accidentally stepped on it and started cussing me out because I made him break his. I told him that I would pay him back for it. So now we're on the way to another ATM so that I can pay him back for it because he is so angry with me, and I am terrified that he's either gonna me or I don't know what he's gonna do. I was withdrawing more money for him. Oh, this shit makes me mad. This money was coming from my savings. This was money that I needed to pay rent because I don't have money except for money for rent. But I'm doing this because I'm kind of fearing for my life. So more money out of the ATM for this dude. Paid him back, and then we finally walked to the motel. He only spent $80 on the hotel. Meanwhile, he had like $250. I tried to get him a few nights there because he was sleeping on a church porch, and I felt bad for him. Anyways, we get to the motel, my dumbass. I walk into the room. He's insulting the room about how much he hates it, how horrible it is. I lay on the bed because I've been walking for hours, and I get pinned down and choked. Clothes forcefully removed, cussing at me to give him a little of the glog again, and I tried, I did my best, but that wasn't good enough. Penetration, no lube, or self either, because I was not into him. I was scared of him. So that's whenever he raped me, and it lasted for about 20 minutes till he flipped me over and bended me over, and he did it in the ass. Again, no lube. Now, that shit's painful. And it was really big. It was painful. He ended up moving back to the other hole. This is gonna get removed from TikTok, dude. Where he exploded, you know what, into the forbidden area. No protection.
But it was over then, yay, and now he's calling me annoying. And so anyways, we're walking back because he's not even gonna stay at the hotel that I got him. He didn't like it enough. He'd rather sleep on the porch. He wants to go to Goodwill. I told him I'm going home after. I'm trying to withdraw more money from the ATM. My card's locked. Card's disabled. But my boyfriend sees the transactions that are being attempted to be made. He shows up to the location. I stayed at that ATM for about 15 minutes, hoping he would see the transactions. The moment he showed up, I told him everything. He called the police. Dude immediately got detained, and I went into a crisis center. But yeah, my card's fucked up, can't use it anymore, and I have no access to my money. And that's it.
Then comes the part of the story that the internet immediately grabbed onto. The money. According to Khalie, she withdrew approximately $200 from an ATM to get him a hotel room because she believed that if he had somewhere to sleep, she could safely leave afterwards. Later, she stated that she withdrew additional money for him as the night continued. Now, I'm not going to speculate, but coming from a recovering addict, that sounds like the additional money was for rugs. But anyway, $250 total. And the problem was not the amount. The problem was the context. Because only weeks earlier, she had reportedly been asking followers for help paying rent, help to feed her pets, help to buy groceries, and help to survive. And now suddenly she's got her savings money, her rent money, her emergency money, and enough money to withdraw hundreds of dollars in cash to give to a homeless man so he can sleep for the night. So immediately the audience started pulling the story apart, not because of the inconsistencies. Was she out because she needed a charger or because she was angry with Preston? Did she forget her wallet or did she have access to the debit card the entire time? Was the money stolen or was the account merely frozen? Why did details shift between videos? Why was the longer version deleted and replaced with a shorter one? I will always believe victims, but those did become the questions online. I do think those are the wrong questions, but here's the uncomfortable truth. People can lie about money and still be a victim of assault. People can manipulate others and still be assaulted. People can struggle with addiction and still be assaulted. People can have inconsistencies in their story and still be assaulted. Someone can make reckless decisions and still be. Those things are not mutually exclusive. In fact, addiction often makes all those things more likely to happen simultaneously, if I'm being completely honest about my own perspective. Y'all, I believe her. Not necessarily every detail exactly as she recalls it, not necessarily every time stamped to the minute, but I do believe something happened that she did not consent to. Yes, I do believe that. Absolutely. Because if someone is heavily intoxicated, possibly drugged, scared, vulnerable, and unable to safely leave a situation, I do not view that as consent, and I never will. And maybe part of that comes from my own experiences, and I'm projecting, but maybe part of that comes from understanding addiction culture. And as a former addict, and I know enough former addicts to know this, there are moments people look back on years later and realize they weren't participants. They were vulnerable. They were impaired. They were being used, and the people around them knew it. And that is what this part of the storyline feels like to me. Peace Stain, this man, a lot of people. And it makes me very sad watching how many people simply ran out of empathy by this point, and how some people outright accused her of fabricating everything. Others argued she brought it on herself, and people were just focused entirely on the financial inconsistencies as well. And yeah, she did ask for help for money at the end, but I understand why, y'all. She's an addict, and I understand why people were skeptical. Years of contradictory stories will do that. Years of financial controversies will do that. Years of donation fatigue will do that. But I think some people crossed the line from skepticism into cruelty, because addiction is ugly. Addiction lies. Addiction manipulates. Addiction hides things. Addiction rewrites reality. That doesn't mean people in active addiction deserve violence. It doesn't mean people deserve to be exploited. It doesn't mean people deserve to be assaulted. Those are separate conversations. By the end of the night, according to Khalie's account, failed ATM transactions eventually alerted Peace Stain Preston to her location. She says she intentionally stayed near the ATM, hoping he would find her, and eventually he did. She told him what happened. Police became involved. The man was reportedly detained, and she was transported to a crisis center and underwent examination. And people online were still debating. They debated paperwork. They debated medical record numbers. They debated timelines. timelines. Some claimed the documentation looked suspicious, and others argued the forms appeared legitimate and consistent with local crisis center paperwork. But honestly, I don't think the paperwork debate was ever really about paperwork. It was about trust. And by April 2025, trust was already dead. The audience had stopped asking, did this happen? And started asking, can we believe anything she says? One question is about evidence, and one question is about whether someone had earned the right to be believed. And those are very different conversations, because the reality is this: sometimes deeply traumatized people become unreliable narrators of their life, especially when abuse enters the picture, especially when trauma enters the picture, especially when all these things arrive at the same time. And unfortunately for Khalie, that may have been exactly what was happening here. By this point in the story, the internet has spent years watching Khalie survive things that should have totally broken her. The mold house, the rats, the family instability, the internet fame, the fundraisers, peace-stained Preston, assault allegations, the money, the controversies, the breakups, the reunions. At some point, people started wondering if there even was a rock bottom. Then the Starbucks incident happened. The video spread fast. Way too fast. And in the clip, Khalie is visibly struggling to stay upright inside a Starbucks. Her body is bent forward. Her movements are slow. Her head keeps dropping. And people online immediately started comparing it to what they call the Fent fold. Coming from a recovering addict, it's what it's giving. The posture, the nodding, the inability to stay fully conscious, the kind of thing people who have spent time around opiates or, we recognize it immediately. And to be clear, no one online can diagnose someone from a video. No one can say with certainty what substance was involved or whether substances were involved at all. But people who had lived around addiction looked at that video and felt something cold settle into the pit of their stomach, because we recognize it. Khalie later posted on Snapchat that she had attempted and was now being bullied worse than ever. Shortly afterwards, she posted another message saying that doctors told her she was lucky to be alive, but that she had failed again. Those posts led many people to believe she was referring to a suicide attempt. Later, however, she provided a different explanation. According to Khalie, she had been discharged from the ICU after spending 3 days there. She said her blood sugar had dropped below 50. She said she had taken a bite of a cake pop and immediately lost consciousness. She stated she had no memory of what happened after that point. She explained that when people saw her breathing heavily in the video, it was because she had aspirated part of the cake pop and had been inhaling it into her airway. A Starbucks employee who claimed to have witnessed the event publicly commented and appeared to support portions of that explanation. The cake pop itself at least appeared to be real. Then came another explanation. According to Khalie, the night before, she had mixed multiple medications with alcohol. She publicly stated she had taken Seroquel, Paxil, more propranolol than prescribed, and alcohol, and stated her EKG reportedly showed symptoms concerning enough that doctors discussed cardiac issues. And while her narrative is that she believes hypoglycemia caused the collapse, medical staff reportedly discussed the possibility that it may have been accidental.
I was released from the ICU today after being in there for 3 days. At the time this video was recorded, my blood sugar was below 50. I took a bite of my cake pop and immediately fainted. I have zero memory as to what happened afterwards, but as you can see, I'm breathing very heavy. I want to let you all know that at that time I had a cake pop in my mouth. I was inhaling it. And I'll tell you, I mixed a lot of stuff with my medication that night. I took my Seroquel, I took my Paxil. I took propranolol more than I was supposed to, and a drink. My EKG says that I was showing symptoms of a heart attack. I think the faint was from hypoglycemia. They also think it could have been an accidental.
This is the part that hurts to watch if you've been there, because addiction often sounds exactly like this. Not one explanation, 20 explanations, not lies necessarily, fragments, pieces, half-truths, deflections, anything except the sentence that feels impossible to say out loud. I think I have a problem. As a recovering addict myself, I want to be careful here, because I don't know what substances Khalie was or wasn't using at that exact moment. I wasn't there. None of us were. But I do know what nodding looks like. I know what oversedation looks like. I know what medication stacking looks like. I know what somebody trying desperately to explain away their own impairment looks like. And I know what it looks like when somebody isn't ready to admit what everyone around them can already see. And that isn't evil. That's addiction. That's the disease. The Starbucks employee filming her became another controversy entirely. Khalie felt violated, humiliated, exposed. She publicly discussed possible legal action and argued that her rights had been violated.
Starbucks, your workers really need to do better. Thank you to the doctors who saved my life. But my rights were very violated that day. So y'all should let me know how I should proceed.
Legally, filming in a public place generally is not prohibited. Morally, the conversation does get murkier because if I'm being honest, I think two things can be true at the same time. I think recording somebody in one of the worst moments of their life is cruel. And I think seeing yourself in one of the worst moments of your life can sometimes save your life. Because if I woke up and saw footage of myself unconscious in a Starbucks with a cake pop hanging out of my mouth while strangers online debated whether I was dying in real time or on rugs, that would scare me. Not because people were mean, because I would realize I wasn't hiding it anymore. The disease had become visible, public, impossible to explain away. And maybe that's why this part of the storyline hurts so much, because by now everyone watching seemed to understand something Khalie herself either couldn't admit or couldn't survive admitting yet. This wasn't getting better on its own. This wasn't stress. This wasn't just trauma. This wasn't just pea-stained Preston. This wasn't just bad luck. This was becoming life-threatening, because how much further does rock bottom go? You've survived neglect, you've survived abuse, you've survived assault, you've survived homelessness, you've survived hospitals, you've survived ICU admissions. How many warnings does one person get before the warnings stop coming? That was the question hanging over the internet after the Starbucks incident. Not anger, not judgment, fear. Real fear. Because for the first time, a lot of people stopped wondering whether Khalie would ever leave Preston and started wondering whether she was going to survive long enough to get the chance. So after the cake pop incident around December of 2025, Preston was actually out of the picture. He was actually in jail, and Khalie was obviously not healed, like at all. You don't spend years in survival mode, years of instability, years bouncing between hotels and police reports and fundraisers and live streams and chaos, and suddenly wake up one morning because you're pea-stain free and are just emotionally healthy because pea-stain got arrested. That's just not how trauma works.
It's insane. Not fair. How is it fair my boyfriend's in jail right now for kicking my ass last night and telling me that I should kill myself? How is that fair? How is that fair? And I'm over here, I don't have any fucking money, and I have no way to get money. He's in control.
Those fucking eyeballs, man.
Of all of my payment apps, and he's logged into my bank, and I have no money. Again. What a fuckery, dude. I didn't even press charges, the police did, bro. Hell. Wig is insane, I know, but I feel like I look better this way as far as spicy posts. But y'all, tell me an app that's not PayPal, that's not Cash App, that's not Venmo, and that's not direct banking like Zelle. Tell me an app I can use for payments, because I need, bro, y'all want to see my fridge? Y'all are gonna see my fridge.
Trauma doesn't vacate the property just because somebody else does. So for the first time in a long time, Khalie was alone. Or at least she was supposed to be. And Khalie had said herself many times that she struggles with being alone. Honestly, a lot of traumatized people do. Silence feels unsafe, calm feels suspicious, chaos is familiar, and it starts feeling like home. And that's when Vamp Daddy got to enter the storyline. Now, before we talk about this trip to Iowa, we need to talk about who Vamp Daddy is, because this man, context really matters here. By the time Khalie got into the car to go to Iowa, Vamp Daddy was not some random stranger she met at a gas station. People already knew who he was. He already had a reputation online, and it was a bad one. He had an internet presence built around being provocative, sexual, shocking, edgy, offensive, and intentionally disturbing. The name alone tells you most of what you need to know. Vamp Daddy Evil. Not Michael from accounting. Not Steve who works at Home Depot. Vamp Daddy Evil. The branding wasn't subtle here, and he leaned heavily into the image of being the creepy older guy, the scary guy, the weird guy, the I can fix him guy, the monster as a personality trait guy. He openly referred to himself as the big scary jacked guy. That wasn't an insult people gave him. That was part of the character he was selling. According to people who had followed him long before Khalie entered the picture, there had already been concerns about his interactions with very young women online. There had already been accusations of inappropriate conversations. There had already been accusations involving grooming behavior, accusations involving women who were barely adults. And some of these accusations remained rumors. Some remained allegations. Some exist only in screenshots and Discord conversations and internet archives. But the important part isn't proving every individual allegation. The important part is this. People were already uncomfortable with Vamp Daddy Evil before Khalie ever got in his car. That matters. Because when the live stream starts and people realize this man has driven 11 hours from Iowa to Tennessee to pick up a 19-year-old girl who's just escaped P-Stain Preston, just survived domestic violence allegations, just survived addiction allegations, just survived psychiatric holds, just survived police involvement, homelessness, a public collapse in a Starbucks with a cake popped down her throat, and is quite obviously not in a stable place mentally, the internet and Mama Chancla collectively loses its mind, because healthy adults don't see that list and think perfect girlfriend material. They just don't. That doesn't mean Khalie wasn't legally an adult. She absolutely was. But vulnerability doesn't disappear on your 18th birthday. Trauma doesn't disappear on your 18th birthday. Addiction doesn't disappear on your 18th birthday. Blow out the candles. It's not going to happen. Predators know that. Healthy adults know that too. They just respond to it differently. Then comes the live stream from Vamp Daddy's car. And honestly, watching it now feels surreal. Khalie is crying, talking about how she couldn't go back, talking about how if she stayed in Tennessee, she would go back to P-Stain Preston, because that's what she had done every other time. And yes, that part broke my heart a little, because that was probably the most self-aware thing she'd said in months. She knew exactly what would happen if she stayed. She knew she would go back. So she did what trauma does best. She ran. But unfortunately, she ran directly into another problem.
Okay. Because I cried today and I didn't want to go back, but I felt like shit and I couldn't be alone. I was like, dude, I did this to him. Even though he hurt me, I just felt like I did this to him because I'm going to call the police. I need to get far away, because if I'm not far away, I'm going to end up doing the same shit I've done every time, and I'm going to end up going back to him. And I can't.
There's some big, scary, jacked guy who's willing to kidnap you.
Jack's a guy.
He's muscular.
I know, but I was just trying to make sure that's what you said.
That is what I said, but I also know you need to explain sometimes. It's okay. You know I'll teach you.
Am I being kidnapped? No, this was completely consensual. Completely consensual. Completely consensual. I'm an adult. He is an adult. I make my own decisions.
When viewers start asking questions, she repeatedly tries to reassure people she's not being kidnapped. This isn't coercion. She chose this. She wanted it. She's an adult and can make her own decisions. And honestly, I believe she believed that. I genuinely do. Consent and safety are not the same thing. Agency and vulnerability are not the same thing. Those conversations get flattened online into yes or no questions when real life is messier than that. So, Vamp Daddy Evil and Khalie arrive in Iowa, and almost immediately things get super weird, super fast. Vamp starts posting sexual content involving Khalie to Twitter, pictures, videos, content that was intimate enough that most creators covering the story refused to repost it. And I'm not going to repost it either. At one point, there are shower photos, fully nude, like nothing's left to the imagination, y'all. And what struck a lot of people wasn't necessarily the content itself. It was Khalie's face, because she never looked like somebody participating. She never looked like somebody enduring. Again, that's my interpretation, not fact, interpretation. But I know I'm not the only one who saw it. At one point, he reportedly carved his initials into her chest. Again, some people saw ownership. Some people saw abuse. The internet argued about which one it was, because the internet argues about everything. But then comes one of the strangest moments in this entire saga. Khalie posts a cleaning video at Vamp Daddy Evil's house. Of course she does. Because somehow, no matter where she goes, she always ends up cleaning somebody else's mess. She walks through his apartment showing mountains of trash, pizza boxes, containers, garbage, no furniture, a mattress on the floor, chocolate milk bottles everywhere, Domino's boxes everywhere. The trash is basically functioning as furniture at this point. And I genuinely wish I was exaggerating. She jokes that she's scared of Domino's and chocolate milk now because that's apparently most of what he consumes. She says she had to clean with Dollar General supplies because she only had $40. By the end, she had 13 left. She didn't have a broom. She used a scrub brush to sweep the floor. And watching it just feels weirdly familiar because suddenly we're back in the mold house again. Different state, different man, same story. She's cleaning another man's disaster while the internet watches again.
Motherfuckers, come with me to clean the infamous Vamp Daddy Evil's bedroom with only Dollar General supplies. We're recycling all of this cardboard. There's like 1,000 fucking pizza boxes. What the hell, man? I don't know what this tool is, but I'm putting it in the kitchen. If y'all want more, there are a couple of other rooms I can do. There's just no furniture here. There was a cute little before and after. I had to sweep with a scrub brush because there was no broom or vacuum, and my budget was only $40, so now I only have $13 left. I didn't know he drank so much chocolate milk, but now I know he drinks a lot of chocolate milk and eats a lot of Domino's. Which I'm scared of Domino's and chocolate milk. Isn't that wonderful? I guess he likes ice cream too. A lot of these are just going to be befores and afters at that point because there was just too much shit to pick up. I'll make sure to post more cleaning videos of this because, make sure you stay till the end because the after results are fucking beautiful. But you can kind of just see that the trash was basically the furniture, which now I'm kind of sad because I don't know what to do. I'm just going to lay on the mattress on the floor and have panic attacks now. Yeah. Thank you for being here, by the way. You're about to see the after result. If you're worried for my safety, I'm safe. I promise I'm just 10 hours away, and it's really scary for me. But here's the before, and here's the after. I really hope you enjoyed. If you want more cleaning videos in here, let me know because there is a shit ton more work to be done. Bye-bye! More work to be done. Bye-bye! More work to be done. Bye-bye! More work to be done. Bye-bye!
Then people notice something in the video, the hand gesture. The internet starts circulating claims that she may have been using the domestic hand signal. That remains speculation. Nobody knows. She's never confirmed it. But the fact that people believed it tells you everything about the atmosphere surrounding the situation. People were terrified, not uncomfortable, not concerned, truly terrified, because by this point, this wasn't feeling like internet drama. It started to feel like the opening 20 minutes of a true crime documentary. Then comes the live stream. And this is seriously one of the hardest watches in the entire timeline because she doesn't seem angry anymore. She doesn't seem defensive anymore. She doesn't seem argumentative anymore. She seems gone. Not physically gone, emotionally gone. Like someone turned the lights off and forgot to tell the body. She's slurring. She's exhausted. She's dissociating. At least that's what it looks like to me. As somebody who has been around addiction, the look is familiar. Painfully familiar. At one point, she openly admits she's been drinking. And she openly admits she's mixed alcohol with medication, hydroxyzine, sleep medication, prescription medication, alcohol. And she starts showing pill bottles on camera, talking about addresses still attached to the house that burned down and stuff like that. And just talking in circles. And if she's admitting to drinking on her medication, there's so much more that she's on because that's just how addicts work. Drifting in and out of conversations. And I'm not trying to diagnose her, but as somebody in recovery, we know what sedation and intoxication looks and sounds like. I know what someone trying desperately to stay awake looks like. And then comes the clip that a lot of people still talk about where she asks for one more and he tells her no. And of course, people immediately start speculating. Another drink, benzos, medication? Nobody knows. Nobody outside that room will ever know, but I'm pretty sure I believe that I know.
Mad at you.
What did I do? Oh, yeah, the wig.
Just that.
What else?
Where's my bottle?
That? You're not getting it. I'm sorry. What? No. Because one more is going to turn into one more. And you know that.
No, it's not.
That's exactly what you would say if I didn't let you drink the milk.
But also people notice something else. After that interaction, her demeanor changes even more. Then comes the Twitter conversation because someone in chat tells her to wink if she didn't consent to the post. She refuses to answer. He answers for her. And that part bothered a lot of people because regardless of what the truth was, people wanted to hear her answer, not his. If you're listening though and you're not watching, watch this part. It's very important. Just keep your eyes on this part right here, okay? Eventually, Vamp Daddy Evil goes to sleep and Khalie is alone on live stream and she's crying and she's drunk and she's talking about wanting to get high. She's talking about wanting to leave. And honestly, it was like, it was a moment where I just wasn't frustrated with her anymore because I wasn't looking at this internet personality or a fundraiser controversy. Like I don't care about the lies or the manipulation or the addiction or like her being a public figure doesn't matter to me. I'm still seeing a 19-year-old girl who is 10 hours from home. Home has burned down. Home was never good to begin with. And now she's in this filthy apartment with a man she barely knows, wondering how she got there. And for the first time in a long time, I think a lot of the audience just, like, if they were angry, they stopped being angry and became scared. Because whatever this was, it wasn't getting better. So Khalie eventually goes back to Tennessee. And this is the part of the story where everyone finds himself in the worst possible position as an audience. Because we find ourselves agreeing with some of what a person says while still feeling deeply uncomfortable with who is saying it. Because then, since she's left, Vamp Daddy needs to tell his side. And he has 8 parts, hours of explanation, hours of context, hours of trying to explain how he ended up homeless, unemployed, investigated by police, and sleeping in his car after trying to help Khalie. And she just dipped. And honestly, the frustrating part is that some of what he says isn't unreasonable. That doesn't automatically make him trustworthy. Those are different conversations. Because throughout this entire rabbit hole, Vamp Daddy positions himself as the adult in the room, the rescuer, the guy who stepped in when nobody else would, the guy who drove 11 hours to save her, the guy who opened his home and gave her a chance and paid for her hotels. This is a guy who lost everything trying to help somebody everyone else had abandoned. And that is very clearly the version of the story he wants us to walk away with.
I am very tired, so we end up getting a hotel. Ultimately, I have to call off work twice now due to the hotel situation. Still tired again because, like I said, I just hadn't been sleeping well. I hadn't slept much with her because I had to help her pack. I had to help her do a lot of things, and driving a very long time can take a lot out of you. So we're in another state at this point. We enjoy each other a little bit. I obviously kick my feet up and relax in the hotel. She does too. She orders some things, whatever. We stop and talk about what we want to do, what sort of life she wants to have. She decides that yes, she wants to do content and make money from that. And hey, I can bring a lot of attention to somebody. And a lot of people want to see me make content as well. You people can say whatever you want. At the end of the day, I'm still an attractive man and I still have a lot of people interested in me. Of course, for the next couple of days with Khalie, I record some photos and videos of her, every single thing I have ever posted, and she knew I was recording her. Every single photo and every single video I have ever posted of her, I have shown her and asked, hey, do you like the way you look in this? And are you okay if I post? Word for word, that a lot of people told me that she disappears randomly and will just run away and just run off. And I told her I want her to be there when I wake up. And instead, what I wake up to is her gone and text messages saying that she Ubered off to a tattoo parlor, couldn't pay for the tattoos, and need me to come pay for them. Yeah, obviously it's pretty annoying. But I do it because, one, what am I supposed to do? And two, obviously I still care about her. But that's not really something good to be doing. And everyone knows that. And I'd like to think that deep down she knows that too. Khalie had been on the phone with her brother, who, I'll be completely honest, I'm not a big fan of her brother. I have a different view of him now. They wanted her to go back for the Christmas holiday. Keep in mind that this is the girl who, when she was assaulted in a disgusting way that I won't even describe, when she was only 12 years old, by somebody in that family, I'll just go ahead and say, Miranda, her mother's, her lover at the time, did some disgusting things to a 12-year-old girl, and I'll just leave it up to imagination what he did. And I'm gonna let you know right now, kids don't lie about that type of thing, and if anyone wants to try to accuse her of lying when she was only 12 and is 100% a dead ringer for that type of abuse, you're a disgusting human being, and please never speak to me. And that's coming from me, by the way. If I think you're disgusting, you've probably really fallen off. To be completely honest with you, I have a pretty strong dislike of everyone in her family at this point. because they see this young girl going through a domestic abuse situation, and do they help out? Do they try to keep, the boyfriend of the young girl away from her, while she wasn't even really the correct age to be with somebody like that? If you know, you know. For some reason, Miranda, her mother, approved it, which not really surprising. It's not the first time that Miranda would let a young Khalie get hurt under her watch. But every single one of them sees her in this situation, and Khalie's been online for a while, let's be honest. We've all seen the condition she was in when she was growing up. But do any of them actually step in when she's actively being assaulted? And I just want to say flat out, yes, 100% Preston abuses Khalie. It's been documented. We have seen videos of it. We have had things leaked of it. We have had witnesses come forward. He has been arrested numerous times. It 100% happens. And Miranda, instead of saying, should I get my daughter away from that? Nah. Her brother thinking, should I step in and protect somebody in my family? Nah. What these people do, what they did is they literally sat around on Reddit and Discord just talking bad about her while she was in this predicament. I go to sleep, I wake back up, Khalie's gone again, and my ex-girlfriend is conversating with me. She's texting me, asking me to call her. She calls me and tells me that Khalie has actually gone to the police about me. I have no idea what, but I only assume the worst because she has a history of going to the police with abuse, and God forbid, even though, I would never do that to anyone, whatever happens is going to happen. And, as a guy, especially as a big guy, if cops come for abuse, they're taking someone, and it's sure as hell not going to be the woman. I have to pick up some antifreeze for my car, pick up a blue book for her anyways, just a little surprise to say that, hey, I'm not mad at you. I text her saying, hey, I'm not upset, just let me know what's going on, and, I'll come pick you up wherever you are. Get back, and when I pull into my driveway, like 8 cops immediately corner me, and yeah, they were not taking any chances. I am handcuffed, placed in the back of a car. They have a search warrant for my place. They go through, they take my phone, whatever. Ultimately, I'm not arrested at the time. The cops tell me that they'd like to speak to me at the station. They offer me a ride there and back. And I know never talk to cops. Everyone will say never talk to cops, whatever. I don't care. I talk to the cops. So what? If anything happened, it's best to just get it out of the way. Say what happened, say what you did, and just deal with it. So I do that. I talk to the police. At the time, all I knew was, of course, what we did together. I don't know what she told the cops. I get a story told to me from some people that say that Khalie was not okay with me posting any of the content, which wouldn't surprise me. It turns out, however, that she has said more than that, and I find out at a later time. So anyways, I give the police my phone and give the police all the information, get into my phone, give the police, everything they need to know, everything they need to do. She had apparently told them I have content on my phone, and that she had seen this content involving something that, let's just say, has the same initials as Cyberpunk, C, and then the other one, yeah. Which I want to say flat out, absolutely disgusting. I never have been interested in that, never will be interested in that, and never was interested in that. The police don't find anything like that on my device, because there's nothing like that on there, and I have no idea why she would ever say something so heinous, but ultimately, she leaves me no choice now. For my own safety and well-being, having someone do and say something like that when they're trying to honestly just get free things out of the police officers for free resources for a motel room, forward. I lost my job. I lost my place. I'm living out of my car now. How awesome, right? But whatever, it could be worse. I have to look on the bright side. I can say that I'm still able to find employment. I'm still able to have money. I'm still able to get back on my feet. And there are people who have it worse than me who can't do that. So even though I'm in a dark place right now and not a good situation, I just have to try to keep moving forward.
The problem is that even if every single word of that version were true, it still doesn't erase the part that makes my skin crawl, vamp. Because, once again, we have an older man looking at a deeply traumatized, addicted, mentally unwell 19-year-old girl who had just escaped years of chaos and deciding, yeah, this relationship opportunity, great. Not roommate, not friend, I'm not going to be a safe adult. Let's do a relationship again. And that is where I have to check out, because healthy adults don't look at somebody actively drowning and decide to date them. They throw life preservers. They don't jump into the water asking for exclusivity. That is my opinion. You can disagree with me, but that's where I land. Unexpected expenses, hotel costs, missed work, long hours driving. He helped her pack. He helped her move. He helped her start over. And listening to him tell it, He wants the audience to understand the sacrifice. Look at what I gave up. Look at what I spent. Look at what I risked. Look at what I did for her. And honestly, I believe he probably believes that. I genuinely do. I think Vamp Daddy Evil sees himself as the hero of the story. And the issue is that predators often do. The issue is that exploitative people rarely wake up in the morning and think, today I will exploit someone vulnerable. And most of them truly believe that they are helping. That doesn't make the power imbalance disappear, though. According to him, after the drive, they stayed in hotels and they talked about life. They talked about content creation. They talked about the future and making money online. And he openly states that one of the things he could offer her was exposure and attention because he already had an audience. He specifically says, I can bring a lot of attention to somebody. And that sentence, it just stuck with me for some reason because at that point, Khalie wasn't a girlfriend. She wasn't even fully a person in the way he talks about her. Khalie was content, an audience opportunity, a collaboration, a mutually beneficial arrangement, a business opportunity. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe that's me projecting onto the words, but that's how it felt listening to him say it. And then we get to the Twitter posts, the pictures, the videos, the content that made half the internet recoil. And according to Vamp Daddy Evil, every single photo and video was consensual. According to him, every single upload was approved beforehand. According to him, he showed her everything before posting it. Asked permission, received permission, posted with permission. That is his version. His position has remained consistent on that point. Other people involved in the situation have disputed that publicly. Those competing accounts are part of what eventually led to police involvement. So at this point, viewers are left deciding who they believe. And people immediately started asking if she was comfortable creating this content. Why is it suddenly appearing for free? Why now? Why here? For the free? With him? Those questions spread quickly online. Then comes one of the stranger stories in the version of events, because according to him, before she arrived, multiple people warned him. She runs. She disappears. She leaves unexpectedly. He claims he told her directly that he wanted her there when he woke up. Instead, according to him, he woke up and she was gone. Apparently, she had taken an Uber to get tattoos and couldn't pay. So apparently, Vamp Daddy Evil had to come and cover the bill. Listening to him tell the story, you can almost hear the disbelief. He sounds genuinely shocked that chaos followed her to Iowa. And honestly, that may be the most naive part of this entire thing, because what did you think, Vamp? Vamp Daddy? Like this was going to be some magical reset button? Like you're going to pick up a traumatized 19-year-old with addiction, struggled, untreated mental health issues, unstable housing history, abusive relationship history, and internet notoriety, and suddenly get a stable domestic life? Oh, Vamp Daddy. Trauma travels, addiction travels, chaos travels. State lines don't stop any of that. Then comes the family section, and this is where things get complicated because honestly, some of what he says here isn't wrong. According to him, Khalie's family failed her. Facts. He references the allegations about the stepfather, concerns about the family members not intervening sooner regarding Peace Dane Preston. He references public family conflict that social media knew about. He questions a lot. He has questions a lot of viewers had already been asking themselves. Why wasn't someone stopping this? Yeah, I know my name's Vamp Daddy Evil, but I'm the least evil out of everybody. Why did this teenager have to be navigating domestic violence and homelessness before I came along? Okay, Vamp, those are fair questions. But then the hypocrisy walks into the room because while criticizing Preston's age and Preston's behavior, he somehow never fully addresses why he thought he was different. And that's the piece I can't get past with these people, because if your argument is this vulnerable teenager deserved protection instead of exploitation, then congrats. I agree. Don't we all? Completely, wholeheartedly. So why exactly did protection somehow become cohabitation? Why did support become intimacy? Why did rescue become romance? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels an awful like he saw exactly the same vulnerabilities Preston saw. He even admits that he saw them. He just packaged his response differently. That's my opinion. Y'all are allowed to form your own. So according to him, investigators found nothing supporting those accusations. As with many things in this story, there are competing narratives and incomplete public information. The investigation itself matters more than internet speculation ever will, but then comes the fallout. He loses his job, loses his apartment, ends up living in his car, and that's where the story becomes strange again. Because somehow the man who drove 11 hours to rescue the internet's favorite rescue project suddenly becomes the next person posting a GoFundMe. And maybe that's the perfect ending for this part of the storyline, because by this point, everyone somehow ends up in the same place eventually. Homeless, asking strangers for help, telling their side of the story online, and trying to convince the audience that they were the good guy. And the truth is probably messier than that. It usually is. But personally, I don't think this section of the rabbit hole is about whether Vamp Daddy Evil was better than Pea Stain Preston. I don't think that's the question. I think the question is, why did another older man immediately appear the moment the previous older man disappeared? Because that pattern is what keeps me up at night. Not because it's rare, because it isn't. Because vulnerable people attract helpers. Unfortunately, they also attract predators. And sometimes those are much harder to tell apart than people want to admit. So when I started this investigation, I thought I was making a video about a girl who cleaned a dirty house. I thought it was going to be a flower girl situation. And I thought I was making a video about internet fame. I thought I was making a video about GoFundMes. And then, like, at some point, I thought I was making a video about grooming. Then addiction entered the room. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're making a video about that. Oh, and then exploitation entered the room. So we got to add that. Then, you know, the pressure of social media entered the room and the trauma entered the room. And eventually I realized this story was never about one thing. It was about what happens when every bad thing arrives at the same address at the same time. Because if you remove the platform, remove the internet from the story, what do you have? A neglected child, an older boyfriend, substance abuse, financial dependence, domestic allegation, mental illness, housing instability, poverty. That story, hello, exists in every city in America, probably every city in the world. The only difference is that this one happened on our phones, in front of our faces. We watched her become internet famous. We watched strangers furnish her house. We watched strangers buy her groceries. We watched strangers buy her cleaning supplies, buy her cars, try to save her over and over and over again. And eventually, we watched strangers become so angry that they couldn't support it anymore. And that's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath this entire story. You cannot rescue someone into healing. You can't crowdfund recovery. You can't Amazon Prime somebody a support system. You can't Venmo somebody's self-worth. And you can't bully somebody into sobriety. Those things have to happen somewhere quieter than the internet usually allows. So where does accountability fit into all of this though? Somewhere, for sure, absolutely somewhere. People were hurt. People were lied to. People lost money. People felt manipulated, and those things matter. They should matter. But accountability and compassion are not opposites. They can exist in the same room. In fact, they should. Because the older I get, the less interested I become in deciding whether somebody's a victim or a perpetrator. Real life is rarely that simple. Sometimes people who have been harmed go on to harm others. Sometimes addicts manipulate people who genuinely care about them. Sometimes traumatized people become dangerous to themselves and exhausting to everyone around them. And none of those things erase what happened to them in the first place. Two things can be true. The internet hates, though, when two things are true. But this story insists on it. As for Pea Stain Preston, I gotta keep it real. My opinion's not subtle. A grown man pursuing a vulnerable teenager, living in those circumstances is unacceptable. Full stop. Period. As for the parents, children do not create those environments, adults do. Disgusting. Period. As for Vamp Daddy Evil, driving across multiple states to involve yourself romantically with a deeply traumatized teenager fresh out of an abusive relationship is not heroic to me, and it'll never be. As for the internet, I think we meant well. Honestly. I think thousands of people genuinely wanted to help. I think thousands of people genuinely cared. I also think some people forgot that there was a real human being underneath the screenshots and the timelines and the subreddit posts. And finally, As for Khalie, I don't know how her story ends. Maybe she gets sober. Maybe she disappears from the internet completely. Maybe one day she rebuilds trust. Maybe she never does. Maybe she's able to tell her own story one day, or maybe she never wants to revisit any of this again. And that part belongs to her, not us. But Khalie, if she ever watches this, I think the thing I would like to say to her is, people are not born this way. Nobody comes into the world wanting chaos and wanting to be addicted and have instability and wanting to be abused. Those things are learned. And if they can be learned, I promise you, Khalie, they can also be unlearned. It takes years though. Sometimes decades. Sometimes it takes losing everything. But it happens. I've seen it happen. I've lived it happening. And maybe that's the only thing I'm willing to root for. I don't want you to be punished. I don't want you to be humiliated. I don't want another scandal. I want to see you recover. Because if this story proves anything, it's that surviving your childhood and healing from your childhood are two completely different jobs. And for some people, the second one takes a lifetime. This is Investigation Chancla signing off. Please take care of yourselves. And remember that somewhere outside the For You page, there are thousands of people living versions of the story that nobody is documenting. And those people deserve compassion too. Thank you. Goodbye. Editing Mama Chancla. Oh, wait. You're still here? You watched to the end? First of all, what is wrong with us? Because this video was approximately like 14 business days long. But seriously, thank you. This venture is new. This channel is new. Investigation Chancla is brand new. And the support on these videos has meant the world to me. Y'all have no idea. If you'd like to support me and support my small business, link in the description. Or if you just want to keep me caffeinated while I fall down internet rabbit holes all night, you can buy me a coffee below. Also, like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like more investigations. Thank you for being here. Now, please go touch some grass, hydrate, stretch your back, and maybe let's not think about mold and pea stain Preston and Vamp Daddy Evil for at least 24 hours. I owe it to myself, and y'all owe it to yourselves. Goodbye.